Da, 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 da. Who's this? This is a banging tune. I need to learn these. Roland Rizzo, Norway. Roland Rizzo is a fantastic name for an artist that produces civilization music. Hello, everyone. Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, good night. How are you all doing? I'm Ursa Ryan. And oh boy, are we here for an exciting evening of Civ 7 news and discovery as we hit the exploration era. Hello, everyone. Good evening. Huzzah! Rizla, I know, that's kind of what I was thinking. Roland Rizzo, Norway atomic era, apparently. What a name. What a name that just became more and more relevant as time went on. Hello, everyone. Goodness me, some names in chat that I recognize. You can see Lord Rich, Mr. Drex, Elias, Milo, Sander. Lots of people that have been on streams multiple times. Good evening to all of you. I hope you're well. I hope the last week has treated you well. When was the last time I streamed? It's been over a week? I lose track of time. Time is flying by at the moment. Time is a weird concept. I think this happens when we're, at least in the northern hemisphere, we're heading towards winter. As the nights pull in, I just lose all reference with what's happening outdoors, with the natural world. That's my only point of reference. It's the thing about playing computer games for a living, as is the case for many nerds and also people that work in office jobs. Often you could just lose a total connection with the outside world, and you wake up and it's PC, and you leave your PC and it's night again. It is what it is. Hello, everyone. Huzzah! Oh, we've got a huzzah from Baltimore. David Strait. If I say it in a sort of slightly European way, people think like, he's got an idea about how you say that. Street. Yes. Baltimore. Oh, Baltimore, that trip was fun. I look back on that. I can't believe it was like almost 3 months ago now. Isn't that mad? Time really does fly. New tier list. Tier list is in like a list of people's tiers. This crying is better than the other one. No new tier list tonight. Not yet, but there probably will be one. Maybe two more, maybe more than two. As we go. It's pronounced like straight. Okay. Fair play. Now I know. You're annoyed that myself and Potato were in your hometown and you never knew. We could have had a Civ party. Yes. Unfortunately, it was all a bit hush-hush, but maybe next time. Who knows? I might start doing all kinds of weird stuff. I might travel around again. Maybe we'll do some cons sometime. Maybe we'll do some gatherings, some events. Who knows what's going to happen in the future, eh? We keep everything crossed that we can do some cool stuff going forward. Hello, Nicola. Perkins D. Good to see everyone here. Lots of huzzahs in chat. After release of Civ 7, we're going to need a drawings tier list. That's not for me to do, though. I can't do a tier list of my own drawings. That would be irresponsible and ridiculous. What? According to me, all of my drawings are just wonderful and fantastic. So, like, I can't rank those. Oh, you sure can. I could maybe I could do my favourites, or the worst according to us. But I need a tier list from everyone. I'm kind of hoping that my community / Reddit / whoever comes up with a list for me. I'd like to see them ranked outside of my influence. I wanna, I don't want to be involved with that. I want to just let that happen naturally. Me, irresponsible. I am 100% responsible in all things at all times, as we should remember. That is the Ursa Ryan way. Alright, let's do a roll call. We need to do a roll call. This is my favourite bit of every stream. Let me know where you're watching for. Drawing in for? If you're drawing this stream, then fair enough. But where are you watching from? I've already seen Baltimore. Obviously, we've just got Brighton. Hello, Daniel. I want to know where everyone is. Now, Mr. Drex, if I remember your Latvia, I remember. Ballarat from Lord Rich, I remember that. Norway. Exeter. Canada. I'm assuming that's Wilfred Laurier country. Oh, it's going quick all of a sudden. Germany, South Africa, London, South Carolina, Switzerland, Israel, Michigan, Sao Paulo, Stockholm from a bus. Amazing. Ireland, Hungary, Cambridge. Your living room. Czechia, Ohio. Wisconsin, Leyland, Poland, Alabama, Berlin, Delaware, Ukraine, Armenia. Just so many. Is this Ursa live? It is. I'm live. I know, it's crazy. Bosnia, Netherlands, Wisconsin, Lake Disappointment, Iceland, Netherlands, Brazil, Philippines. Oh, there's so many. Iowa. Now this is really showing my age and my lack of relevance to the meme culture of the world, but was it Iowa that the whole meme about the toilet and the heads that were in the toilets? I don't know if it was. There's a lot of American states that have 4 letters in, and I get them all very confused. Utah, Iowa, Ohio, sorry. Oh, I do apologize. Ohio, totally different. So totally different. As a Brit, we're interested in those sort of East Coast states that once we had an interest in. You know, we're interested in the sort of New England area. Once you start going inland, that's all French. Everything from Louisiana Purchase onwards is like beyond us. We don't really know. Ohio. Thank you. Oh dear. Hello everyone. I like, so somebody mentioned before they were actually coming to this stream from a bus. That blows my mind that you can be on a bus watching this live. I'm sat in my home talking to a webcam and someone in a bus in Europe is watching that. That's crazy. That's nonsensical and I love it. Really, really cool. Petition to turn Iowa into Ursa land. Is that the best bit of America? If I was going to claim any bit of America as Ursa land, you see, that's the thing. You've got to choose carefully there. At the moment, my petition of any bit to claim as Ursa land would probably have to be Maryland. Maryland? I get told off for saying Maryland wrong. Maryland? Something like that. Got to put on a fake American accent and get away with it. But then I own Baltimore, right? And if I own Baltimore, then I technically own Thoraxis, and then I own Civ. And Sid. I personally own Sid. So that's kind of what I'm thinking at the moment. I don't want Iowa. Is Iowa where all the potatoes are? I don't know anything about America. I'm so sorry. I'm such a European. Ah, dear. Why not California? California seems like a legit place, but I'm terrified of California for a few reasons. Firstly, it is on the totally wrong side of America for me. Flying to California from the UK is an absolute headache. It's awful. Concorde made it briefly fine, and until Musk and his Starliner that seems to go into space and come back down, until all that's sorted, I can't be dealing with 14, 15-hour plane rides to go and see my own land. So I'm thinking East Coast rather than West. Also, California has both fires and earthquakes. And if there's anything that really makes me fearful in life, it's a combination of earthquakes and fire. Like, I don't like the idea that my house could get, like, pushed over by an earthquake, and then it could also be set on fire afterwards. Like, that's a combination. Although Yosemite does look pretty. So I'm starting to think. And there's lots of bears in California, right? California has bears? So that's cool. Yeah, Idaho is the potato palette. Idaho has potatoes. Ireland has potatoes. We know all about Ireland. I can't talk about Irish potatoes. The Irish quite legitimately get a little bit grumpy when Brits talk about potatoes. So we have to we have to be careful. I would love Japan. Japan seems like the coolest place, and I would love to go. I really want to go to Japan. Absolutely amazing country. But yes, the natural weather and phenomenons in Japan terrify me. Like, absolutely ridiculous. I think American weather is pretty bad. I think Japanese weather is up there with it. It's gotta be. But you've got to remember, I live in the UK. Because of where the UK is on the planet, like, we've got the sea to our west and not the east. And we've got the Gulf Stream that comes across from America, and then kind of like the camera's reversed here. So it kind of like heads up that way over and like round Scotland. We're actually protected from most bad weather. The UK doesn't get like cyclones or hurricanes, whatever you want to call them in any part of the world. We don't really get tornadoes. Wildfires are pretty rare. Droughts are pretty rare. We don't live on any fault lines. So yeah, earthquakes are pretty, like, we're very protected where we are. So the rest of the world is frightening. It's absolutely terrifying. And I'm not used to any of it. The Gulf Stream, legitimately awesome. Like, stabilizes our weather. It's cool. I'm just talking randomly. We've got some fun stuff today. We should probably talk about Civ rather than me just having a waffle about the Gulf Stream. How do we get onto this chat? What's happened? What's going on? We get smoke and ash from Iceland, though. We do. When Icelandic volcanoes go off, everyone suffers, right? So it's, yeah, waffles. Oh, I want to go back to Belgium. I went to Belgium. I went to Brussels. Brussels, great city. Don't spend more than 2 nights there. It's quite a small city. If you live in Belgium or you live in Brussels, I love you. It's a lovely city. There's not much to do there. You get a little bit bored. But the waffles are lovely. Both regular waffles, like what I would classify as big baked stuff, and then stroopwafel are amazing. Are those Belgian, though? Or would the Dutch lay claim to stroopwafel? I don't know. Don't quote me on that. I'm not getting involved in Dutch-Belgian conflicts, because that is something I'm not qualified to do. But we have some Civ to talk about tonight, ladies and gentlemen. We have some wonderful, wonderful Civ to talk about, because let me just show you quickly. I'm just sort of keeping a rough eye on this as I get suck you into this place. In 45 minutes time, we're going to learn a lot about Civ 7. A lot about Civ 7, because we're going to learn all about the exploration age as we listen in to the devs talk about it some more. So we're going to be diving in, listening, reacting together, talking about it afterwards, digging into what we've seen, which is going to be really, really funny. So we are looking out for this in about 45 minutes time. And we can talk about what we know about the exploration age before that point if we want as well, because there's loads of fun things. Is that the Ursa Ryan leader? Yeah, no, this is the one I made a joke about. Because, like, you know, like, come on. So I did a drawing on this and put it up. I was convinced. I was personally convinced. But we know loads about the exploration age as it is, right? We know loads about the exploration age because we've been told a bit. So we can go about that for now. So that we can get ourselves familiarized. We know what we're looking forward to. We know what to expect. We can talk about everything. I need a royal staff. Don't all English people have them? No, unfortunately, not all of us are royal. Quite famously, the argument as to whether you are and aren't royal in the UK is pretty heated. We have quite a lot to say about that conversation. Many civil wars and many wars for the throne have been fought about that exact question. I know, the scepter. I should have a scepter. Why don't I have a scepter? What I should do, as the channel gets a little bit bigger, I should have a PO box, like a post box. And I should invite people to make me scepters and send them in so I can have one. It's like 3D fan art. That would be cool. A government mandated royal scepter for all UK citizens. I know. Aren't I just one revolt away from being royal? Aren't we all just one revolt away from being royal? Imagine Ursa Ryan today was seen outside Buckingham Palace leading a bloody revolt for the throne. I don't think many people would know who I was. It wouldn't be a very successful revolt. Maybe if we ever got to like 50 million subscribers, you know, I was getting into Mr. Beast territory, and maybe enough people would know me that I could lead a revolt for the English throne. But yeah, maybe. I've never done one of those tests though to see if I am actually royal. That would be quite funny. Paging MI6. All right, let's lead the chat into something constructive here. So this is the Civ 7 website, right? This is what we've been looking at a little bit. Who here watched the tier list video I did for the Antiquity age? Hopefully you all saw my Antiquity Age tier list, right? I put a lot of effort into that. I thought it was really good. I thought it was really good. I had a lot of fun with that. Yay, you all did. Good, good, good. Good, good, good. Was a great video. Adam, correct answer. Correct answer. Absolutely correct answer. So, what I did before, as we spoke about what the first of the 3 ages, the Antiquity Age. And there's 10 civs. And the big takeaway from that is the fact that there was no coming soon section after that one, whereas more coming soon was at the end of exploration and modern. So exploration we only know so much about. I think it had been theorized beforehand, and I don't remember where this was theorized, but we're pretty sure that there's going to be 10, 10, and 10 civs, right? Or maybe there'll be a +1 with the Shwani DLC, but it was going to be pretty much 10, 10, 10 civs. So we've got our 10 Antiquity Age civs. We only know 5 of them for now with the Exploration Age. We have Abbasid, who I knew about from, well, day 1, well, at least when I went to Baltimore, because Abbasid was mentioned in relation to it being the natural expansion for Egypt. Or I think at one point it was Songhai, but now it's Abbasid. So, you know. 30 plus Shani. Yeah, it's a 10, 11, 10. Yeah, this is exactly what I thought. Thank you, Omega Gamer Girl. And Zari. So, and I think, by the way, like, I just want to call this now. We're going to have 30 civs, 10, 11, 10, so 31 with the first piece. I think with DLC, we're going to easily double that by the end of the game. We're going to have so many civs, it's going to be nonsensical, and that's going to be fantastic for content, YouTuber-wise. Amazing. I'm going to love it. It's going to be absolutely great. We're going to have so many civs to play, but I imagine a lot of them will get released with DLC. I would expect we would see DLC at least every year, if not maybe every 18 months. That's kind of what I'm expecting. And I think there will be leader passes. This is my guess. This is my unfounded, uneducated guess entirely. I think they are going to be doing leader passes between major DLC. So I think there will be new civs and new leaders with major DLC, but I also think they're probably going to put more civs and more leaders into the game between DLC things, because when we spoke to the developers, one of the huge takeaways from Civ 6 was how successful the leader pass was and the frontier pass. Like the idea of dropping stuff little bit. They loved that. Everyone loved it. It was like everyone got something new to play every 3-4 weeks. I can see them doing that again. I don't think there will be a subscription DLC Bubblehead, and I don't believe, fingers crossed, that there will be like a game pass. I don't think that's the way they're going to go. I could be wrong, because that is the way a lot of games are going. But I think it's going to be more like what we've seen with Civ 6, but the tail end of the Civ 6 DLC on Civ 7. That was my guess. That was my uneducated guess. So, I wouldn't be surprised if we get more than 100. I wouldn't be surprised either. I honestly wouldn't be surprised. We're already a third of the way there. How many civs did we start with on release? Sorry, White Nerdy, I've just seen you hiding in chat. Hello, how you doing? Sorry, I should say hi. How many civs did we start with when Civ 6 came out compared to at the end? Because at the end, we've got 60 civs, right? How many did we have at the beginning? I think we've pretty much tripled it on Civ 6 from the beginning to the end. So I wouldn't be surprised if we triple it again. We'll see. Started with 19 leaders. Was it that few, White and Nerdy? I thought it was 20. The reason I thought it was 20 is because I think that's the origin to the 20-player max limit on games. Like, I don't know. I don't know. I could Google this. I could work this out myself. But I'm not. I'm just randomly asking things on the internet. We shall see. We shall see. So, yeah, we're going to have loads more, but we know of 5. Abbasid I knew about. That we all knew about that as being the natural evolution for Egypt. The other one we knew about from day 1 was Mongolia, although we didn't know anything about it because Mongolia was used, of course, as the reference point for, let me just quickly see if I can, this will forever be probably the picture. The picture. we knew this from the beginning, right? When civs and leaders were totally separated. The idea that you could play Benjamin Franklin of Mongolia. So Mongolia was the civ that was like, if you owned 3 horses in the ancient era, the Antiquity age, then you'd be able to play Mongolia. So we knew this one already. I know. Benjamin Khan. If Benjamin Khan isn't a meme, a household name by the end of this, then I have failed as a creator. That's my contribution, okay, to Civ 7. Benjamin Khan. And I want to see mods. I want to see t-shirts. I want to see cups. I want it all. It's going to be great. White Nerdy, thank you for doing the research. As ever, you are a genius. 19 leaders plus Aztec pre-orders for 20. Yeah, I thought it was 20, but okay, if it's 19 plus 1, then we'll claim that we were both right. We'll claim it as a joint win, right? That's pretty cool. So we knew about Mongolia. We could guess pretty quickly about Shwani because we knew that they were going to be released with DLC. The first pre-order DLC that came with the game. And we know about Tikhom... I can't pronounce his name. I've got to learn these names. I'm going to have to sit down. Like learning a new job with pictures of all the leaders. Yeah, with pictures of all the leaders. I'm going to have to learn how to say all these names. We knew about this one. Norman was the first one that we kind of figured, and we knew a little bit about the fact that we'd have multiple iterations of India or someone on the Indian subcontinent. So there's nothing here at the moment that was too unheard of. So yeah, we shall see. We already know one other. Now, chat, this is where I need you to help me theorize. We're going to start theory crafting here. I think we know of one other exploration age civ, and that's Spain, right? We know Spain is a thing because Spain has been effectively, it was either leaked or mentioned in one of the previous posts. In fact, I think I even did a drawing about the thing. And Songhai, yes. Songhai. Now this is the thing. Songhai we'll go back to because I think this is something a little different. Yeah, Songhai. Will we see Songhai? Or was Songhai rebranded into Abbasid? This is maybe we will see Songhai still. I'm pretty sure we will see Songhai. But I found it weird that Egypt initially was Egypt into Songhai, and then they changed it after a few weeks into Egypt into Abbasid. Anyone else notice that? It definitely went Egypt to Songhai into Egypt to Abbasid. Now that either means they decided that Egypt had a more natural path after criticism, and totally get that, or they reskinned and changed Songhai into Abbasid, and I don't really know. We shall see. Spain was in the early trader, yeah. So we know Spain is in there. So Spain is definitely number 6. Songhai is possibly number 7. Aztec. Has Aztec actually been confirmed? I don't know if Aztec has been confirmed. I don't remember if Aztec has been confirmed. China, I'm pretty sure we will have a China exploration age. Yes, so I'm pretty sure. Abbasid wasn't polished enough to reveal, so they mentioned Songhai. That could well be that could well be it. I'm absolutely willing to believe that could have been it. It is still the path, yeah, possibly. Florence to Italy. I don't know if we'll see an Italian city-state or Italy outside of the modern age. It could be modern is when Italy comes in. I don't know if we're going to see like a... So we could see papal states, we could see Florence, we could see any of the Italian city-states, to be fair. There was a possibility of an Indonesia/Majapahit banner during the Himiko showcase. Yeah, possibly. Possibly. So there's quite a few options here. I think England is going to be modern. For a little while, there was this idea that we could see a England exploration civ, and then a United Kingdom or a Great Britain modern civ. I don't think they're going to do that. I think it's going to be England in the modern era. That's my prediction on that one. Italy is probably modern age. Italy is a difficult one, because if it was Venice, right? If it was Venice, Venice would absolutely be an exploration age civ. It's Renaissance-y, it's all about naval trade, it's all about exploration, taking over dock cities, port cities in the Mediterranean, having trading coasts. So Venice I could absolutely see as being exploration age. Italy as a unified state is absolutely modern. Other city-states? You could do things. Hey, Pravis, hello. Yeah, wouldn't we all love to see Venice return? Venice was by far the coolest civ in Civ 5. By far. It wasn't the best. If anything, it was probably the worst, but it was fun. I think the introduction of Normans in the exploration age pretty much, what would you call it? It pretty much stamped out the theory that we might see a separated England and United Kingdom. Now, the reason I thought that England would be a really, really fun exploration age civ was because then England could have given a rise to various modern age civs that could have been an interesting progression. So we could have seen England into United States, England into Australia, England into New Zealand, England into all Canada, for instance. Like that could have been a fun progression path. And then you could have also kept England into Great Britain as like the exploration to modern. But I think Norman kind of sits on England being in the same age a little bit. So we will see. We will see. We also don't know 100% whether or not every civ is, every leader is going to have a civ. We don't know that's necessarily true. They may be picking leaders that are not tied exactly to a civ. Every leader is going to have a suggested a civ that is the best pick for them, but it may not necessarily be strictly like the exact one, if you see what I mean. So keep an eye on that one. Remind me, so have they announced the years the exploration age is supposed to cover? No, and this is a really interesting point, and we've got to keep this in mind actually when we talk about the exploration age and all of the other ages, because. And there was a really, really good quote from Carl on my Discord. Let me see if I can find it. It was really, really good. And this is kind of the way to think about... no, I'm not going to be able to find it now, am I? See if I can find it. Because I want to read it word for word if I can. I'm not going to be able to find it now. Never mind. Basically, the way that the devs are looking at ages in terms of years and in terms of timelines is not based on physical years. It is based on a vague sense of the type of governments, the type of technology, and the type of civics within a civilization within a certain time frame. So they're trying not to use a European calendar for things, and that's why we are seeing, for instance, civilizations like Kema, who are very, very different in age to civilizations like Rome, for instance. Like, they are like 1,000 years apart. But the idea being that they both fit into the sort of model of what they are looking at an Antiquity age, which is basically like the sort of amalgamation of civilizations into a single center that kind of expands and fights the land and blah, blah, blah. He explained it really well. I wish I could get the exact quote. I think he put it on a couple of different Discords. So I don't think we're going to see a physical age definition for the exploration age. I think it's going to be more of a nebulous definition of the idea of expansion overseas, forming colonies, forming trading posts, organized religion becoming international religion across borders. basically when things became, they began to get an international market. That's kind of the idea, right? Antiquity was kind of civ by civ. Exploration is when the broader international stage opens up. That's kind of the idea. So we shall see. So Vikings, possibly, yeah. I don't know where Vikings would fit in. It's a really good point, because Vikings didn't really internationally trade. They just sort of internationally pillaged, right? But they were incredibly influential, right? They're incredibly influential for a large period of time. So this is why I think the way they're defining it is going to be interesting, to say the least. Yeah, Nicholas might have this good. It's the idea of a civilization really having manifest influence and power outside of its own borders. Antiquity Age is more of a sort of borders thing. Exploration is more nebulous like that. And then modern, I think, is quite easy to tick in. Modern is sort of industrialization onwards. Now, how far modern will go is a good question, but that's kind of the idea. Vikings is kind of the same time period as Normans, so I'd say exploration. Yeah, fine. To be honest, I don't really know much about Viking history other than what I've read on Crusader Kings, so that's kind of my limit. And then, of course, I know a lot about Viking history in the United Kingdom, where they obviously became a huge part of the culture and amalgamated and blended in with English culture to create English culture, right? They're kind of one of the formations of Norse and the sort of the Norse influence on England. The county where I am, Cumbria or Cumberland, up on the Scottish border, was held by Vikings for hundreds and hundreds of years after the formation of England. It was actually one of the last counties to be expanded into and claimed by one of the first sort of kings of England. So, I mean, Vikings were kind of everywhere. I'm a cucumber. I'm a cucumber, what? Ah, dear. A secret future era when we fight in space. I am still not ruling out DLC down the line putting a fourth age into the game. I am not ruling that out. I secretly think that is one of the most clever takes, and I would not be surprised if the modern age, to the disgruntlement of a lot of people, stops very early on. Like, we've had Civ progress and progress and progress further along. Right, Civ 5 ended up, what was the last one? Was it the Mars mission? I can't remember which was the last Civ 5, but then Civ 6 is obviously exoplanets. So Civ 7, you could be like, oh, maybe we'll settle on new planets. I would not be surprised if Civ 7 ends on, like, the moon landing and doesn't get any further than that. There could well be another fourth age that is released later. Like, I would not be surprised about that one bit. I thought I heard that Civ 7 ends around World War II. Yeah, that's kind of my idea, which kind of checks in, right? World War II, the moon landings was obviously late 60s, so I think, yeah, late 60s, early 70s. I think kind of Cold War is about as late as we'll go. I don't think, and I could be wrong, I don't think that the modern age will go too much into telecommunications and into the internet. I think they're going to keep that for a fourth age. That's my take. Anyway, we shall see. We have 10 ancient civs now. Do you think the other ages will have 10 civs too, or there could be more? Yeah, the leading theory at the moment is they're going to be 10, 10, 10, or 10, 11, 10, with the extra Schwani civilization that's been put in. So I think there's going to be 10, 10, 10. And I think if Civ 7 releases in the same way that other civilizations have before, by the time the game finishes up and we have all the DLC we're ever going to have, I expect there to be approximately 3 times or triple the number of starting civs in the game. So I wouldn't be surprised if we get to about 90 to 100 civs by the time all the DLC is out. That's my take on that. We'll see if I'm wrong. But we shall see. Releasing a Civ game without giant death robots is heresy. I think they're going to do it. I could be wrong. I could absolutely be wrong on this point, right? But I don't think giant death robots are going to be in this game. I don't think we're going to see anything beyond the moon landing. Or at least into sort of anything earlier into like not much after space. That I think they're going to cut it off. I think they're going to absolutely cut it off and keep that as a fourth age. 8 more confirmed civs in the first 2 DLC should bring to 13, 13, 13. Yeah. We're going to start to see a lot of civs get added quite quickly. And I am fully expecting, by the way, I think I mentioned this before, I think Civ is going to use the Frontier Pass and the Leader Pass model that they used before. And they're going to use that in between major DLC. So I think we're going to see Civs and Leaders drop between DLC. So what we might see is DLC, Leaders and Civs. DLC, Leaders and Civs. Alternating. We might see a little bit more of that. So they probably will release civs and leaders with major expansions, but I think there's going to be more regular updates to the game. We should see. As soon as rock bands come on the game, makes me want to start another game. Rock bands were definitely something the devs knew they got slightly wrong. The idea was there. It needed tweaks. It needed to be a much more expansive and interesting minigame if it was going to be in the game. I think it was a little bit half-heartedly done. But the late game is fun. I'm really looking forward to the Modern Age. I think I'm going to get on with the Modern Age way better than the other two, but I've always been weird because I like late game Civ more than early game Civ. And I know that it puts me on a really different level, but I like planes and electricity and railroads and yields that go boo. None of this. Oh, shall I move my settler 1 turn to settle my, like, nah, that's micro stuff. I want the macro stuff. I want the big Civ stuff. So that's going to be, am I going to use University Wonder this time? Look, I am disappointed that it's even in the game, to be absolutely honest with you. I'm absolutely disappointed that it's in the game. But, yeah. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? Hang on. Right. I'm going to disappear for 2 seconds. I'm going to do a quick costume change because it's boiling in here. Oh, that's so much better. Hang on. Do I look presentable? Do I still look presentable? Where's webcam on? Yeah, I just look even more like a salmon now. But apart from that, it's all good. We're about 20 minutes away. Yep, we're about 20 minutes away. Oh, look at all that chat. Whoa. Whoa. Okay, we'll get back into that later. Do I ever think there will be an exploration of modern era Civ that doesn't have a historic predecessor? Exploration Age Vikings, for example. I don't really see who is going to historically lead into them. I don't know. I think there are going to be weird Civ paths. And it could be that it's easier to put late game Civs in than earlier, right? Branching goes out. Like tree branches get more complicated as they go up, right? So I wouldn't be surprised if we have more late game options than we do early game options. But it doesn't have to be that one leads to another, which leads to another, right? It could just be like Vikings exist, and they do. Or they could be like a sort of Sami Civ, or like a Finnish Civ. I don't know. There could be any sort of, like, Scandinavian history is wild. Time machine to February. Don't worry. My drawings will get you through. We're below 100 days now. We're below 100 days. Stay in there. Stay strong. Right, should we have a quick look at what we know about the Exploration Age, right? Because the idea behind it is the map from the Antiquity Age expands. It gets bigger. New independent powers appear. There is unclaimed landmasses outside of the initial Pangaea, and you have to go and utilize and exploit the map. So the exploration bit comes all in again, and we're going to see that appear in some of the abilities that we see with these civs. Have I ruined the zoom on this? No, I haven't. That's all good. Right. So Abbasid was the first option. Abbasid was one of the suggested pathways for Egypt. And I haven't really broken down all these abilities and tier listed them yet, right? So I'm not going to tell you whether or not they're going to be really good or really, really weak or anything like that. But it seems to me like Abbasid, scientific and cultural, that's a good combo of things. Receive gold for each rural population of a city when you create a specialist. It's all about making specialists. I think specialists are going to be how you win the game. I think the meta on specialists is going to be incredibly strong. So we shall see if that works out. Adding science to all specialists is mad. Science-based that adds science for adjacent stuff. It just all stacks up. It's crazy. Any civ that has a unique civilian unit just appears to be like a lot of fun. You can see actually some of the exploration techs are going to be revealed in this list, right? Menagerie. That's the thing that had a giraffe. So that's where the giraffe came from. Hospitals, observatories. Lots of fun things here. And then relics. Kind of a hint about the religion system that's going to come, right? So we've got ideas. To be honest with you, out of a lot of civs, Abbasid doesn't really appear to be a civ that is particularly geared to going to explore. They're not really like big ones, right? They just appear to be kind of stick around on your continent and make the best of it. We shall see. What's chat talking about at the moment? Deep water. New continent straight... Yeah, literally the continent is generated as the game progresses. So it does not exist in Antiquity. It will be generated when the game progresses. So it is an entirely new way of doing stuff. And basically there is no way of going past deep water in Antiquity. So you've got the coast that goes around the continent, and you are physically stopped from going outside of the continent by deep water. So that's kind of the... Yeah, think about it like a Terra map. The Terra map is the closest thing that we've had in previous civs to how the game is now going to work. So that's kind of how to think about this one. Absolutely. So Abbasid doesn't really appear to be set too much about exploration. Chola, the Indian civ. Extra trade routes. Fine. We'll see if trade routes end up being particularly exciting. Extra land trade route and water trade routes. Cool. I don't think the trade route range is going to be much of a problem, but we saw in Civ 6 that Portugal had a huge boost to increase range of trade routes. So potentially that'll be a big thing. Happiness. Lots of gold. Navigable rivers keep popping up. I want to see maps of a lot of navigable rivers, because the ones I saw when I play tested, there weren't many navigable rivers. So I'm hoping the generation of the map pushes up a little bit on that one. Only one continent in Antiquity, basically just one landmass. It might be split into like little islands, but it's going to be basically one continent. Yeah, it's the way to think about it. It should be interesting. Yeah, I think it's going to be really cool. I'm kind of excited to see it. Unique naval unit that has an additional attack, quite offensive. That's good. Unique naval commander that weakens enemies. So they actually, economic, diplomatic, they seem to have a little bit of bite to them. A little bit of warfare. So Chola look like they can get out and about. Mongolia looked hilarious, right? Mongolia, they have discovered FTL travel. Stellaris-esque, leaving the atmosphere travel before everyone else. We shall see, right? We shall see. When you capture an opposing settlement, you gain cavalry, but you can't produce your own settlers. They are literally just takeover stuff, right? Takeover stuff. Expansion through military. They are the nightmare civ to play against. The Ore 2 looked hilarious. When a unit moves onto the tile, its movement is restored. So basically you just go dump, 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 and you chain all the way through, and you eventually break the sound barrier. It is horse-based FDL travel. It looks amazing. Amazing. That does look fun. A unique Noyan commander, which is basically just the unique cavalry commander that Mongolia have had before, which should be good. And then the Kashig is back. We know what the Kashig does. This time it heals after killing things. So a little bit of CIV in there. Yeah, white nerdy. This looks hilarious. It looks like you can just reinforce. As long as you build enough of them in your lands, you can bring reinforcements from anywhere in your empire and then send them to the front line. Amazing. Amazing. It should be good. Is my chat... Hang on. I'll get rid of the chat overlay. Hang on. There you go. Better? Better? I'll move myself over as well. I'm over here now. You see better? Da-da-da! It's fine. Just poke me if that sort of stuff pops up. I don't mind moving things. We're all good. We're all good. So Mongolia is just... It doesn't have anything to do with the sea at all, right? Horses are not seahorses. They are totally separate. So you're just going to have to conquer things as you go. We'll see about this one. Norman. Now, Normans seem to be way more put together with aggressive naval warfare in mind. Land units received increased movement when embarked. Land units adjacent to coast increased combat strength. So they've kind of got the Civ 6 Japan ability mixed together with kind of like a Norway coupe ability. Like you can embark and disembark really well. Land units at sea is a little bit better. The plains are a sort of sea for Mongolia. It's true. It is true. Yeah, no, Mongolia is going to be nuts. Norman is basically just like stronger troops as long as you're by the sea, basically. There is a fun cavalry unit which is less, it's slower, but stronger. So we're talking more of a sort of like Byzantine, Droman, cataphract sort of tank unit, right? Big, heavy horses. You get them for 3 when you complete quarters, happiness buildings, culture walls. They're all about claiming land, being really defensive, and then like putting a claim in for it, just not being sent off. A unique settler unit, when a town is created, it receives a 3 wall. So if Norman settles next to you, you're going to really regret it because they're just going to like plonk walls down and be really difficult to move. And it's going to be really annoying. Really annoying. So I think Normans are going to be very good at just getting army out onto the other continent. So Normans are going to be very good about taking a land army and going bam and settling somewhere new, claiming it through warfare, and then not losing it. That's my prediction anyway. And we got Schwani. Then we've got Schwani. So this is the extra civ that's coming with the release. Economic and diplomatic. Settlements built adjacent to navigable rivers gain increased food on river tiles, but cities not adjacent to a navigable river receive less food. That is like a really interesting one. I love civs that have a little bit of a penalty as well as a positive. I think that makes for more interesting gameplay. We will see how many navigable rivers are on a map, because if there aren't many, I could see this being a real kneecap, right? This could be a real hamstringing of a civ, but we'll see how big those bonuses can be. Very broadly, they have a unique improvement that adds food and gold. They have a unique missionary unit that spreads, and basically you just have fleet of foot. You can move across rivers. They're faster, so they're really good at spreading their religion. They have a unique infantry unit, which has increased combat strength for every empire resource. I think empire resources are what we call strategic resources. So these are horses, iron, niter, that sort of thing. So the more you collect, the stronger they get. And then we've got the... no, that's it, isn't it? So nothing particularly about getting out to sea, but they are very economic. So they should be able to trade really nicely. All of these civs, by the way, we haven't done a proper deep dive into this. When I do the tier list, we'll go through this properly because they all have unique civics. And all these unique civics tie in with their buildings and infrastructure and units, right? And it's all just like, it gets really complicated. So there's loads of fun stuff. There's loads of fun stuff. So that's kind of what we know about the civs right now. So we shall see. We shall see. My live. Here we go. Here we go. We're getting ready for this, right? We're getting ready for this. We're almost here. Almost here. 8 minutes away from the gameplay reveal. So we're going to watch all this together. There has to be a Holy Roman Empire civ in exploration. I don't know. Possibly. You'd expect to see something Germanic. Maybe. But we shall see. We shall see. The new settlements and cities system sounds backwards. I think that's one of the things they've got really well on this one, Farberserk. I like the towns and cities thing. It worked really interestingly. Well, we've got to see this system play out a little bit more. But that was one of the changes I really enjoyed, because it makes you really think about the wide versus tall issue. That's one of the things that Civ 5 did really well compared to Civ 6. Because in Civ 6, right, Civ 6 is all about unrestricted expansion. You just go as wide as you can. You have as many cities as you can at all times. That's the thing. In Civ 5, you took penalties for settling. So you took tech and civic, or tech and culture penalties the more you settled. So you had to make sure the cities you had were really good, and there were things like tradition versus liberty. You had to think about how wide you went, tall versus wide. I think towns and cities is going to be a really interesting take on that. It's more nuanced, because you have a settlement cap, so you can always go above it. Like the cap is not a fixed cap. You just take a small, like, I think this is what people think. Like, if you've got 5 city or 5 settlement cap, you can settle 10 cities. It's just you're going to take a penalty. Is the penalty going to be a problem for you, or does your bill allow you to go around that? Like, we've seen already that the Indian civ in Antiquity has so many happiness abilities that you might be able to go 5 or 6 settlements above your cap and not worry about it at all. So it is potential that the settlement cap won't matter. But just having something to think about, like the cities versus towns thing, where it's like, the more towns you have, the stronger your cities are. The more cities you have, the more spread your resources are. Do you have like 1 city and 8 towns, or 3 cities and 6 towns? It was really fun. Like, already, that's one of the things I came away from thinking, like, this mechanic is really cool. I enjoyed playing that when I played it first time. So we shall see. Society settled wider and wider because it gave more stuff. Not necessarily. You can see civilizations like Russia, for instance, where Russia was massive, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it was particularly strong. Just take civilizations like Portugal. Portugal is a classic example. For the longest time, Portugal was a exploration world power, and the landmass of Portugal is tiny. Absolutely tiny. They just built very tall. So we're going to see, yeah, it's interesting. 5 minutes, I know, 5 minutes is exciting, isn't it? Ah, very exciting. Very exciting. Probably depends. The penalty is more like, oh no, a speeding ticket, I've got $1 billion, I can afford it. Yeah, there seemed to be a happiness cap of like -20 when you went over it. It seemed like that cap was pretty brutal, so you'd need to really set up for it. But I reckon it can be done. With wonders and the right civ choices and a leader that plays into it, I reckon there probably are builds that can ignore the settler cap. So I'm excited about it. I think it should be really good. It should be really good. Right. Well, I'm going to start getting this a bit ready now. We want to make sure that we can hear what's going on here. I'll turn the Spotify music off for a bit. And then we've got this music, which is the stream. Let me just bring this up. I'll bring it to here for now. There you go. So we can kind of see this coming in. We've got 4 minutes now. Can you hear that? Can you hear the background music of the stream? I hope you can. We shall see. Let me know if you can't hear it. Tech is not. I'm a YouTuber, right? And tech is not my strong point. This camera music? I don't know. This could be actually. I think it might be. I think you're right. Right, I'm going to quickly disappear for like 2 seconds just before the stream. I'm just going to use the facilities. I'll be right back with you in 2 secs. He's back, he's ready to go. I'm excited. This is all genuinely new for me. Like, a lot of this exploration stuff I have not seen before. I have not seen this before. Respectfully, Ursa, you're the content creator. Sleepy's the YouTuber. She's the one that does all the tech stuff. Sleepy's just wonderful. Everyone should respect Sleepy. It's all good. What are my thoughts on the soundtrack's release so far? Very good. Very good. I like Civ. Civ music generally is really cool. Like, oh, it's going to be really good. Sleepy is the true MVP of the channel. It's true. It's so true. That's a tank. Is that a tank? I've seen that artwork. Sorry, I got excited for a sec, but I've seen that artwork before. Yeah, this is a lot of exploration-y stuff. Is that Normans? Looks like it is, doesn't it? So I'm getting very expanded. Sorry, my bet on my new Civ reveal is Spain, assuming they want to show off exploring new continent. I think we're going to see Spain today. I'm pretty sure we're going to see Spain today. That's my bet. Let me know in chat. What Civ do you think is going to be revealed today? My bet is Spain. But maybe I'm wrong. I'm alive.
Hello, Civ fans, and welcome to our Exploration Age live stream. I am Sarah, your community manager. We are so excited. We have a lot to show you today, including a new Civ and a new first look for a leader. We're going to be diving into some very exciting Exploration Age mechanics. And also, we're going to be taking a few questions in chat, so be sure to leave them in chat, and we will try and tackle as many as we can. I am joined by Ed Beach, creative director, and Carl Berrien Harrison, designer who just had a baby Berrien, and is taking a break from paternity leave.
Yep. He's back in from paternity leave.
So a couple PSAs for you guys. Starting with, we are extremely excited to announce we're doing our first ever Civ 7 Twitch drop. So all you have to do for our Twitch viewers that are watching us is to link your Firaxis and 2K account together. Watch for at least 15 minutes, but we hope you stick around for longer.
The echo is not from me, by the way. The echo is from them.
Age banner, which shows up in places like the pause menu and the multiplayer lobby. So just a really cool way to customize your profile.
There you go.
And lastly, we have a super cool shout out to make. We've got a exciting collector's edition for the game. So if you like physical items, be sure to check out the collector's edition. Some really cool things there. An awesome clock design, a scout figure.
The clock is unique.
Very exciting items. And I think even a really cool coin that you can get in the collector's edition too.
Yeah, the collector's coin has a reference to the 4 different types of victories in the game. So if you are feeling economic, militaristic, scientific,
this was wild.
I mean, spin the coin honestly around to represent exactly what you're going for that day.
That's awesome. And we're going to be talking a little bit more about what that looks like in game too, which is exciting. So when you order the collector's edition, or if you want to check out your Exploration Age banner from this Twitch drop, just a reminder that Civ 7 comes out February 11th for PC and console, which is super exciting to announce. And you can play as early as February 6th if you pre-order. So definitely some exciting stuff to come. Ed, tell me a little bit about why you're so excited for the Exploration Age live stream.
This is the live stream I've really been waiting for. This is when we really show how sort of the normal progression of an empire can turn in a different direction because of the new age of history that we're opening up and into as we get into the Exploration Age right after our age transition. Mm-hmm. So we're going to start out by
ready to go.
Showing the empire that we created through Antiquity. It's just a few turns before the Exploration Age is going to dawn on us.
You can tell he played for ages setting this game up.
How we got to this point, but really show you some of those cool Exploration Age details about how the gameplay changes as you uncover.
Keep an eye on the set behind them, by the way.
Yeah.
None of that is accidental.
You're even rocking the Exploration Age t-shirt, it looks like, which is awesome. I know you've been really excited for this, and Carl too.
Yeah.
As am I. So just also a quick reminder, just remember that when we show off these details, these builds are still work in progress, so just keep that in mind for us.
Yeah, don't slate them too badly.
Here is our new first look for a leader that you guys might remember from the past.
Colonialism by pairing Isabel. At colonialism by pairing Isabella with her home civ, Spain.
Isabella and Spain. Oh, it's going everywhere. Oh, she doesn't look happy. Go on.
Colonialism by pairing Isabella with her home.
Whoops.
Troubleshooting just a little bit on the first look video. Why don't we just take
Spain.
a moment again, Ed?
Spain.
You have been super excited about this Exploration Age live stream. I know we talked a little bit about some of the mechanics that people can come to expect, and this leader, I think in particular, the team is really excited.
Okay.
to show
Isabella was a
So
pretty
I think one
classic
thing we
choice,
should
I think.
note to people is that I was talking just a moment ago about how you pursue the 4 different pathways through the game, either militaristic, scientific, cultural, or economic. And we have talked in the previous live streams, the Antiquity stream, we showed how, for instance, the cultural pathway during Antiquity is all about building world wonders.
Yep.
So just a reminder to people that as we launch into a new age, we're going to be talking about different ways to make progress.
They
in
need to
those
change
4
the
areas.
camera.
Those are what we call our legacy paths. We have 4 unique legacy paths that are very tightly tied to the way the exploration age unfolded historically. And so deep diving into those is
This
gonna
is
be
making me
really
feel so much better about my use of
And
tech.
speaking of deep dives, I think we are ready to check out that
Hey!
now, so let's
Round
go.
2, go on.
Este su reino se acreciente sobre la tierra.
Queen Isabella
She looks quite
ruthlessly
badass.
consolidated Spain's power through the Spanish Inquisition and Reconquista,
There's the scepter.
then expanded her empire's global reach into the New World.
Spain on the coast?
This means that she gets along well with anyone who doesn't
The
take
natural
what is
wonder thing is
rightfully
back with
hers.
Spain.
In other words, everything. As a relentless expansionist, Isabella's discoveries and conquests abroad reap rich benefits.
It's Civ 5.
at home.
It's literally Civ 5. They have the same bonuses as in Civ
Command
5.
Isabella's massive naval fleets to claim and defend territory near and far, all without breaking the bank. Capitalize on all that colonialism by pairing Isabella with her home civ, Spain,
Love it.
in the exploration age, for extra gold towards converting towns into cities. Or choose a different path all your own.
So, very cool. Go
But
find the
whatever
world
you
wonders.
build, remember to build something.
Go get a load of
you
gold.
believe in.
Yeah, I mean, those are very classic Spanish abilities from Civ 5, right? So, you can see where they're getting that.
So that was our first look for Isabella. We hope you enjoyed it, and be sure to check out the game guide for Isabella after the stream ends.
We will.
Ed, can you tell us a little bit about why the team wanted Isabella to make a return to Civ 7?
So Isabella is a leader that's sort of near and dear to my heart. We just saw in that video the final wonder that was being built at the end was El Escorial, which is outside Madrid.
El
Took a
Escorial.
trip to Spain when my daughter was studying abroad there. Visited places like El Escorial, but also Granada, where Ferdinand and Isabella
I
are
literally
buried,
love
and
they
it was
put it
a
in because
really
he's been there in
cool,
real
deep
life.
look
Wonderful.
into Spanish history and all the different cultures that have come together to form Spain as it is now. We're actually, you go there, you get a sense of, oh, well, there's a lot of Roman heritage, but there's Greek heritage, Visigothic heritage, Moorish heritage. You see all those cultures combining into making up what Spain is today, and we'll see that in game as well. Now, we came home from that trip, and not too much long after that, my wife and I got 2 new cats. We happened to name the cats Ferdinand and Isabella. And so
This is so
Isabella is
wild.
actually our cat that loves to sit on a civilization pillow. And so, you know,
They
there she
literally have a
is,
picture.
probably at home watching
That
the
is
live
hilarious.
stream on her Civ 6 pillow. Yeah, there's a little bit of a personal connection with Isabella for me.
That's amazing. It looks like
They didn't put
she's ready
Spain
to
in the
go.
game because they wanted
She
Spain.
loves
Ed
watching,
liked his cats,
live
that's
streams,
why.
so she should be.
Confirmed
You even
here.
made a board game that it features as well.
There's also a Spanish Ferdinand Isabella board game that I worked on that came out about a year ago. So yeah, very
Loves the
very
Spanish.
much tied into sort of the historical period that I'm really fascinated with.
Very cool.
That's awesome. And I know a lot of our Civ players that have been with us from our older games too are probably excited to see her make a return to the game too.
So I think one thing we should talk about as well in terms of a return is the bonuses that were chosen for Isabella.
Yeah.
Carl had a hand in
Literally the same.
sort of coming up with what those should be. I think it was a discussion that you were having, and you want to go through that with us?
Yeah, so we have a whole content design team, and we were working on
Carly's ready to
Isabella's
go.
design and
He
what
is.
that should look like. And Matt Beach, another content designer, and I were both enamored with the Civ 5 version of Isabella. We thought that she was a ton of fun with her Natural Wonder gameplay, the fact that you got gold from discovering them, the fact that you doubled or increased the yields that they provided. So we wanted to bring that back. But we also wanted to sort of address the feast or famine bit of that. If you didn't have a Natural Wonder, you didn't really benefit from her abilities at all. So we've added this naval unit portion so that she could have a really large fleet to sail the world and discover the Natural Wonders so that then she can settle them.
Yeah. Basically,
That's awesome.
make a
Well,
bunch of
let's see
scouting
her in
boats
action.
and
Let's go ahead
explore
and load up the
everything.
game. And really quick, while we're here,
So
let's just
we've
talk for a
got
second about the
Persia,
Exploration Age and what it represents.
Egypt,
I know we're starting
India,
off here in Antiquity.
Greece,
We're going to
right?
show that transition moment.
None of
But
this
just
is
for
new, but I
everybody
can see.
wondering, what can we expect from Exploration?
So exploration is the time where, starting in the Middle Ages, but kind of progressing forward from that, a lot of different world powers unlock the technology
25
to,
population
sail
city.
across the oceans. And initially, that
I don't wanna
was
be
a
too
pretty dangerous
judgmental.
endeavor. You'll
That's
see
quite
how that
low.
works in the game, that it's not the safest thing to do right at the beginning of the Exploration Age. But the key sort of game and sort of
79
history-changing
science,
revolution was
107
that
culture,
now
rookie
you could
numbers,
trade
come on.
with
Oh.
trade partners that were across distant seas. There were exotic goods from across the world that would be coming back home, and that just had a tremendous impact on the economies of the world, on the different types of trade networks that were being
This is
formed.
still Antiquity.
There was a lot of contention in terms of how Europeans were going to get to the Orient to get spices. So it really changed just the whole geopolitical situation in the world. And we wanted to represent that in the game by having just a whole different set of gameplay mechanics roll into our game. And so the civilization experience does change quite a bit when you get into
Cersei's does look pissed off,
Got
doesn't
it.
he?
Well, we're here in Antiquity.
Look at him in the top
We're
right.
starting as Greece. As Carl, as we kind of move around the map a bit, what can we expect from sort of
Right,
the game
what can we
settings,
see?
first of all, too?
So this is the capital. This is Hanging Gardens, we can see.
Well, right now we are at 3 turns or so left in this age. In every single age, you
About
have an age
135
progress
turns. That's
up
quite
here
early.
we have-
That's quite
our age
early.
progress is set to 98%, so we're very close to the end of the age. And I'll go ahead and get some gameplay started here.
And I could actually answer the game settings question, because this was actually a game that I played. So I played this
played
out
this one.
to get us ready for the stream.
Checks out.
The thing I wanted to do was make sure that we could really show in detail the turns at the very beginning of the exploration age. So I left this at standard speed rather than going to the quick
there's a
speed
bit of
that we
warfare
often
here.
use for a lot of our streams.
This is standard speed. Standard
we
speed.
have this on a map where there are 4 players on our homeland continent. that we've
Hoplite,
been
just
fighting
casually
within Antiquity.
being badass.
We'll go through which of those players are doing well and which of those have had some challenge. In terms of the difficulty setting, the setting is what we call sovereign. It's the new name for the emperor difficulty level. That's one below.
Oh, they've
mortal.
renamed the
So we wanted
difficulties.
the AI to keep up with what an experienced Civ
This is
7
level
player
6.
is capable of, but not put it on one of those really tricky difficulty settings at the top.
Right.
And there's one AI opponent, Xerxes, who has had a really tough time.
Xerxes
in
is
this
not
age.
enjoying
We boxed
things.
him in very effectively
Oh,
between Ashoka
Ed, you're behind
and my
the AI.
empire, so he's
Oh, Ed.
behind. But the other 2 AI civs are keeping right up in terms of where they're at in both like science
There's
development, culture
Xerxes.
development,
19
like
pop
that.
is...
I've got to say, Xerxes does not look happy right now.
He shouldn't be, given the situation. Carl's showing it right now how his 2 cities are between this eastern edge of our empire, which is mountainous, has
Packed.
a few choke
It's
points.
packed in.
And you can see how far to the west here Ashoka has come over with his empire. So Xerxes is militarized with building walls around his cities to try to defend what he can.
He's defending
He's
well.
also taken one of his settlers and dropped them all the way down in the southern end of our continent here.
No loyalty.
And created a
No
city
loyalty.
on
You
this,
can do this sort of thing.
Navigable River inlet into a lake.
It might
so
be
we'll
really
see some
annoying.
Stuff later in our stream about what he does with the city, and it's actually very, very interesting.
This is good. This looks very similar to the sort of
Carl, so what
game
are
we
we
were
looking at
seeing
here? What's
at the
going on?
end of our gameplay.
So
right?
towards the end of an age, as I was talking about previously with the 98% age progress that we've got right now, you do start to see what's called a crisis. And the crisis sort of accelerates the conflict that occurs at the end of the game. And the crisis that we have in this particular game is a barbarian invasion, which causes barbarian camps to spawn around the world. These are completely hostile units that will attack us.
Is a
and we can see we
crisis
have
that's
one spawned
happening now. This
right
is why
here
there's so
near-
many
near us.
black and white
But the
units.
other thing that occurs with a crisis is you're forced to pick what are called crisis policies, and these are unique social policies that have negative effects.
Yeah.
So if we come over here to this tab, we're able to see the crisis policies that we have here. And I'll let you talk a little bit about
Extra
these.
gold cost on
So
military,
this is,
minus happiness
a
for every
reflection
city with a
of this
commander
crisis that's been
level,
going on for a
minus
while. You
10
can see on
gold
the
for
progress
city-states,
bar
your
here that it
suzerain,
has 3
minus
different stages to it,
75%
and we're
gold
well
and
into
food
the
in
third
towns
stage.
with specialized.
As
Oh,
each stage,
the towns have been nerfed
is
by
sort of
3/4.
the
Ouch.
situation gets worse, you have to adopt even more of these crisis policies. So I picked 4 out of the 6 that I thought were least harmful to me.
That's bad.
But
Decentralization
you can see,
is
based on
bad.
the names of them,
Oh.
I'm hiring mercenaries in from the barbarians to try to fight off the other clans of barbarians. This was a tactic that Rome used late in the Roman Empire to try to keep Western Rome alive. I'm offering tribute to them to try
He's
to
a game
pacify
ender,
them
yeah.
a little bit. I have some commanders within my army that are rebelling, but somehow I managed to keep things together.
So
And
this
that's
is
a good example of
representing
some of those
an
crisis
empire
policies
literally
you have
falling
to,
apart, right? That's the
have to
whole
live
point
with.
at the end of an
these
age.
affect all players equally. So the AI is also affected by the crisis and has to select their own crisis policies to deal with the problem at the same time.
All right, so everyone
Where the
selects
camps
their own
themselves
crisis.
Spawn, is a little bit more organic and random. So this is right smack in between 2 of our own settlements.
Yeah, that's a bad
but
one.
The
Deal with it.
others, might have spawned next to somebody else's city and could be affecting
I
them.
just finished dealing one with a camp in the northwest corner of the empire. That's no longer there, but you can tell
You need more
that
units.
This crisis plays out over a number of turns. I have an army that just came back from clearing out the camp.
This
up there.
feels like a
Basically,
disaster
any
save.
little nook or cranny in the middle of your empire is a place where they might slip in an encampment, and you're going to have to deal with it. So there's people who like to sort of forward settle the other players and spread out. There's some downsides to that here.
We have a question coming through. Wingston GER asks, so is loyalty no longer a thing?
Yeah, it doesn't look like it.
Loyalty, I'll just say that there is a system very similar to loyalty. It's not a system that's on all the time, but there are 3 different crises that can possibly hit a player in each of the ages, and we have a crisis that is basically that same type of effect that loyalty. Sort of like those dark ages in the Rise and Fall in Civ 6 where loyalty hit you really hard. That's what that crisis is about.
Yep.
So loyalty is
We
in
do
the
have a couple
game.
of other things to show off.
But
in
it's a
game here.
crisis.
Right now, I have one of Greece's unique civilian units selected. They get a special type of great person called a Logios. And here we have Hypatia, who is going to grant additional science on a library building. So we've stationed her there.
That's late
I'll
in
go
the game,
ahead
but
and
sure.
activate her. We'll talk a little bit more about great people here in a moment. But before we do, I also want to choose our civic. We have future civic available because we've completed all of the other base civics that we have to choose from. And future civic has a couple of things available on it, but most notably of which is it adds age progress.
Adds
So
age progress.
This is a way for
So
you
the
to
more you do it,
accelerate
you can
through the
spam
a little
an
bit
age
faster and get
closed
to,
quicker.
the
Interesting.
end of that crisis if it's really bothering you and you're advanced enough in either tech or
So you can
or
push the
civics,
age finished
because
faster.
future tech also does the
It's
same
also
thing.
an interesting tactic in a multiplayer game when you can like pull a lever to control when the game's going to end and sort of maybe lock in your lead.
This is
That's
the
a
this
cool
is the
thing
new
to be
trade
able to do
screen.
in a multiplayer game as
This
well.
looks so much better.
Fireball 45.
Oh, that looks a lot better.
asks, does everyone have the same crisis?
They do, and you can imagine, it would be a little crazy to have these barbarian camps spawning in between players, and oh no, wait, they're only going after one player. We want the world to feel like, it's beset by barbarians or
Everyone gets the
disease or
same
whatever,
crisis,
and
but
have
you
that be
pick your
a
own
sort of
policy
common
card. So you
problem
might
that
deal with it
everyone faces
differently,
Right.
but the same
Also makes
crisis
sense in
rules. And it
multiplayer
appears there's
settings that it's
3
sort of
different
evenly
crises.
distributed around.
Interesting.
Right.
So I think we've reached the end of Antiquity here. We have a narrative choice available,
Ooh.
so if we select that, we get this pop-up talking about the world is broken, and this is to deal
When
with
we
the
press this
barbarian
button, it said,
crisis that
sorry,
we've
you can
been,
go no further.
Sort of combating over the last several turns, and the age of Antiquity is now ending.
Interesting.
So we're going to click on this. It lets you finish your turn just in case there's a little bit of housekeeping that you want to take care of. We'll show in a few seconds sort of, what the Empire looks like on the other side of the age
Carl,
transition.
come on, says
But
Ed.
keep in mind
Speed
that
up.
the type of military units and their position does get preserved. They sort of get reset back to a sort of a home base into one of their towns or cities nearby.
We wanna see it.
With a commander nearby. But, even those little battles you have at the end of the turn might affect, in the very last turn, might affect the composition of your army.
We want to see it.
board.
Come
So,
on.
we've tried to set it up so the last couple turns of the ages still, carry forward and are impactful to you in the next age.
And speaking of things that carry forward or don't carry forward, we have one user asking, Anthony, do crisis policies last the remainder of the game or just the length of the crisis?
So you'll see after we come through transition that your whole government resets and all the policies are going to be refreshed. The crisis policies are not active when there's not a crisis.
So the
going
crisis
on.
literally
So the
stops
crisis
at the end of the
policy
age.
slots will be cleared.
We figured
We
that.
don't have any of those at the beginning of the age. What is very cool is that the civilization unique policies, I think, Carl, you want to bring those up, and so we can look at which ones we have as Greece. So anyone that has the sort of feather quill type of icon here.
So these are the unique
those
Greek
are our
ones.
3 Greek unique policies. Unique policies we typically call traditions, and traditions carry forward with you. So those are going to be the ones that we start the next stage with. I guess we have 1 slotted and 3 available.
Yeah. Yep.
So you can see how it's really like a tactical choice to pick who that Antiquity civ is when you think about
all
it.
matters,
Yeah, I was gonna say,
and
so if
all
you
those
keep
choices sort of stack, and by
Right.
the
the
end of
civics
game,
from your
empire
civ when it
is a
flips over,
conglomeration
who you
of all
pick
those
makes a
choices
big
you made
difference.
up until then.
I think we're ready to advance.
Let's
Go on, do it. Do it.
So the first thing you see is a cool video,
A cool video.
and we will be going into that as soon as we.
As soon as we
one
grow
last
this city.
notification.
I must have had something carry over.
One last turn. One last turn. Oh, don't make us wait. Come on. Come on. He saw the narrative choice and he thought that was the end, but it wasn't. There was one more turn. There we
Now
go.
the age is coming to an end.
Come on.
Strong trade came of strong relations, and Greece flourished because it chose its partners well.
Okay. It's very pretty. Just very little video. I think that's
After
probably to
the
hide a loading
cool,
screen.
Painting and narration by Gwendolyn Christie, we get to a series of screens that sort of recap the age for you. So the first one lists out all the progress we've made from the different legacy paths that we've been proceeding
Okay.
down.
So
And
these are the
they're gonna
points that
unlock
you've
lots
got.
of points that we can be spending at age transition. We'll be deep diving into how we're going to spend them in just a second. So we won't read through all those right now. I think the one I want to go to immediately is the age ranking screen, because that's going to show us in each of those 4 legacy paths who the big players were that were competing
Interesting.
with us.
So he actually
we built 5 wonders. We were not
did
able to finish
the
that
Silk
legacy path and
Roads
get to
path.
7 wonders
Finished
in the
it.
ancient world. We also were not able to get to 12 towns. We didn't. I didn't really play this out militaristically. I was
The
trying to
AI
build
finished
just
a path as
really,
well.
Cool Greek empire. So got about halfway through that path. But the last 2, we do see people that finish those. The Great Library legacy path, where you're trying to get 10 codices collected and displayed in your libraries. Both Hatshepsut and Ashoka finished that path. And then the Silk Road path, where you're collecting resources and
So he
allocating them
won.
to your settlements.
He won
I was
3 of
able
the
to
4
finish
paths.
that one.
I'll give him some
So
credit. That's
based
not
on
too
that,
bad.
we can go to the next tab, which is the Legacies report. and you'll see that there are bars sort of 1, 2, or 3.
Right, so these are the
segments
points
in
that
length
he's
based on how many of
assembled.
those milestones you achieved. Basically, we're pretty much tied with Hatshepsut right now. We both got.
So this is what you get
of
to
those
spend. This is what
milestones
you
achieved,
earn in
very
Antiquity, and you can
different
spend
areas.
next stage.
She didn't do nearly as much with economics as we did, but she did a lot more.
Cersei's
with science.
did badly.
And
Very
we're
badly.
neck and neck with her, and Ashoka's only a hair behind us. This is the type of recap you have at the end of the age. It also shows you, to some extent, who's going to be strong, kind of get that initial jump start in various areas. We're going to have to assume that Hatshepsut and Ashoka will probably proceed a little bit faster than we do in science in the next age, because they'll have more science legacy points to spend.
Right,
Okay.
and I think, something that some of our eagle-eyed players might spot is that little reference to legends, too, I think is on some of those screens as well. This is something that we're going to talk about more in the future. Essentially, the team wanted a way to reward our players for playing a certain leader a lot. We've got players that like to play these leaders over and
this is
over.
the-
And
the
there's a really cool system involved there
game
that
on
we'll
game
speak more
bonus.
to in the future. But let's head on back into the game.
XP systems
So
for
we have,
leaders, effectively.
moved on through the transition, and we have picked our next civilization.
I know, exciting stuff.
They
Spain
skipped
revealed.
the
Yes.
screen so that he could do
So
this
we got
off
a double
camera.
reveal here,
Cheeky.
really. Spain is who we're going to be playing as. Those eagle-eyed fans that Sarah was just talking about are probably looking on the right-hand side of our screen.
They catch everything.
And there is a modern age civ that has also been just
Mexico.
briefly mentioned here.
Mexico in the
Yes,
modern
so
age.
More on that civ to come in the future too.
There you
but
go.
Ed and Carl, tell me a little bit about why Isabella and Spain work so well together.
So Isabella, as we were discussing earlier, is all about sort of distant lands gameplay. While she gets advantages on
So
any
Rome goes to Spain,
natural wonder
interestingly.
in the game, she gets twice as much gold when she discovers a natural wonder in the distant lands, and then her naval bonuses really help her expand and explore the world once we reach this exploration age. Spain is also all about distant lands gameplay. They get tons of bonuses towards them, most notably of which is their unique civilian unit, the Conquistador, which I was talking about.
This feels
great
like
people
a
earlier.
different
This
set
is a
of
great
bonuses.
person that's unique to Spain specifically, and they're really all about
Siglo de
distant lands
Oro.
gameplay and getting all kinds of cool bonuses once you sail to the
Because
New
that was
World.
the flat bonus for finding
And we've
wonders,
gotten a lot
not
of
for
questions
towns and
ever
cities.
since the
Am I
game was
wrong on
announced
that?
about how the progression from one civ to another works. You can see in the middle of our screen that there are check boxes marked off to show players why Spain was an option for them. You could have played as Rome. We didn't do that. We chose Greece. But since there were a lot of Greek colonies along the Mediterranean coast of Spain, even in the area of Valencia that's been hit by the floods recently, and so our hearts go out to those
So leader
people
bonus.
right
I think
now,
the civ bonus
that,
isn't on this
they've had
screen,
a
is
tough
it?
time in Spain
That
there
could be it.
recently.
I could be wrong. Sorry.
but-
A shot to that.
Greek and Roman settlements are a huge part of the Spanish heritage. Or obviously, if you play as Isabella, who's the leader who historically led Spain through some of their best moments, those are all. Any one of those is all that you need to be able to unlock Spain and choose them as your second civ in the exploration age.
Well, let's see Spain and Isabella in action.
Come on, show us some gameplay.
As we load in
Rome,
here,
by the way, goes to
we'll let Gwen and
multiple.
Christy talk.
Because Rome also goes to Norman. We know
Yeah,
that as well. So
by
Rome could go
By
in
the
many
ocean's
different
expanse.
ways.
Spain will follow the
Tercio,
Sun of Gold to unknown
Conquistador,
lands.
Casa, lots of Casas.
I do want to talk about briefly what distant lands means. We keep using that term. There are two terms that are really
Another
important
continent,
to
I'm guessing.
exploration age, and that's homelands and distant lands. Homelands is the landmass that you start on, the continent that you begin the game on, that we saw already when we were playing as Greece
The map's
Greece
bigger.
in the Antiquity age. Distant lands is everywhere else. It's
Turn
all
one,
other land
top
masses
right.
that you are
I'm with my
unable to
camera.
reach
Did you
in
see
the
that?
Antiquity age, that you get to start to
Back on
explore
turn one.
and cross oceans to find once you reach this new age.
And let's talk a little bit about map generation, because that homeland
Science
distant
and culture's
land,
gone down a lot as
divide
well.
is very important in map generation. So the homeland landmass that's generated on this map, this is a new type of map that's brand new for Civ 7. It is called Terra Incognita, and it generates a very traditional sort of continents map type of homeland area for players to
Terra
start on.
Incognita
so that's
is
feel
the
very
map
familiar
type.
to them.
Interesting.
But what's cool about the Terra Incognita map is the other half of the world, you don't know what that looks like. And it's not going to necessarily be a second continent-shaped landmass. There
Mystery
are variable
on the second
die
continent.
rolls that
Interesting.
happen when that map is generated that determine sort of how watery
Triforce
that
roads, yeah.
area is. And so there are possibilities from it looks just like the homelands to something that's sort of pockmarked with bays and lakes and all sorts of waterways that are fun to explore. So we'll have to see as we proceed with our gameplay.
By the way, can you see how
as
many
to what that
navigable
other
rivers there
half
are?
Of the map
There
is
are
gonna look like.
3 or 4 in shot. 5
Let's
in
go
shot
ahead
right
and
now.
choose our legacies and get this exploration age started.
So there's a lot of them, but they're not everywhere. This is exciting. I haven't seen any of this. This is totally new.
So these are bonuses that were achieved during their Antiquity run. You can see in the top middle of the screen that we have different points in different areas. 1 wildcard point, and then the other points are based on how many milestones we ticked off on the Legacy Pass. I saw that we had a question from chat about should you go just heavy in one area or should you diversify? I think it's all a matter of sort of what your long-term strategy is.
Basically, the better you play in the previous age, the more points you get in the next stage to then pick legacies, which takes you in really well. Do you see Confederation there?
Okay, then you
Less
made your decision
cities,
then. Here,
but more influence. So that's like a
I
tall
knew
option.
we were
That's
gonna,
cool. That's really cool.
Really deeply explore Exploration Age gameplay. I wanted to be set up with an economic powerhouse. That's why I made sure I finished the Silk Roads path, and then I got as far as I could on the other ones. But that's something for everyone to explore, and sort of it's just whatever fits your.
This is
play
really
style.
cool.
Right.
So you can
if you have
every
the
game is going to
capacity
be totally
it looks
different.
Like it really does benefit you too to kind of get these
It's
points.
tricky to get all of the milestones. There have been a few times that people on the development team have done it, and they're like, "I was so proud of my run last weekend, or last week."
We're gonna
because
do
I,
that.
was
We're
able
gonna
to
get them all.
of them,
Right.
but it's not easy.
It's
to do.
fine.
So what are we working with here?
So we've got 1 military point to spend, so let's go ahead and grab a militaristic attribute. Then we have 2 cultural points to spend, and I think we built a lot of wonders, so I think we can go ahead and pick
And notice there are attribute points in all of these areas. Those are sort of the basic things that you unlock for just getting to that first milestone. But if you get to the second or third milestones, that's when these more powerful.
Yeah. So if you only get 1,
legacy
it doesn't seem to do very
cards
much.
sort
You
of
have to
become
basically
available
carry
you
it forward to the next stage.
trigger an effect that
have
not
to get
everyone
2 or
else in the
3.
game is going to have access to.
And if you finish Legacy Path, you get a Golden Age card you can select.
Right. So we'll see that when we get down to the economic.
Because he got the Golden
And
Age.
this card here, I
for
believe,
the
is
economic.
from our Crisis, if I'm not mistaken. So what Crisis you interact with might determine
that's the Crisis
some
one.
gameplay when you enter the next
Interesting.
stage.
I see that one about wonders. We're going to pick that. Chat was asking, will settling natural wonders in distant lands help the homeland?
Yes. So
Of course they will.
let me go ahead and select these here. Don't want to get too distracted. But yes, you do get bonuses.
Extra
for,
science from
the
codexes.
wonders that you've selected.
15%
We are
food,
gonna
less
move our
gold.
capital here
I
on
like
these,
things that go up and down.
Chalkas.
That's
So
cool.
this will upgrade that to a city and make it our new capital, renamed Madrid. Let's confirm those.
So he's
Nope, I have one more.
changing his
No
capital.
wild card, yeah.
Interesting. So that it's on the coast. Very interesting.
So the wonders that you
So it's
settle
no
on
longer
will
Athene.
benefit your homelands as well.
Madrid on the
If you
south is now his
settle
capital.
On a wonder that is, let's say, culture or science yields, those are empire level yields and will just add to your science and culture progression
Can we
as normal. If you are settling on a wonder that's, say, giving food or production, and you have a town, then towns can send yields back to your other cities.
So natural wonders
you'll
still
be able
give
to send
yields
those
in the
yields
same
back
way.
to,
Fine.
the cities on
Xerxes
your
is
homelands,
Mongolia, by the
or
way?
If you upgrade it to a city, obviously it will benefit that directly.
And we've
Ahsoka
got actually
is
a really
India
cool dev
still.
diary that just came out.
Who's
economics
Hapetchut?
feature lead Edward Zhang on our team wrote this incredible dev diary. Check it out on the Civ website, but it goes all into cities and towns in Civ 7, and it's a really great read.
And to get to the specific thing in that diary to look for,
All the
that
towns
Carl was
seem
just
to
talking
grow.
about, look at the section on town
Is
specializations.
that Abbasid? It could be Abbasid, yeah.
Because those determine how a town can take its yield and distribute it around the empire in different ways based on the specialization you choose.
Right.
So what I really want to do first is sort of take a deep dive into some of our cities and show how they're still look pretty Greek at the moment, but we'll get them switched over and
So he's
go
just
in with
growing his
exploration
cities
age
out
stuff
at the
in a
moment.
minute. After the transition, like I said, your military units are going to be dispersed to garrison your various cities, and I had a lot of hoplites up on my border, boxing Xerxes in. I had some fortified mountain passes there, each with a hoplite guarding them.
He did well.
So we have
Sparta
a lot of
is a very cool
those
city.
Infantry
Like,
units
it's
that have
very
been
cool.
upgraded from the hoplite into the tercio, which is the Spanish version of an infantry unit. I think
We're gonna see
if
the
we
new
can
tree.
Zoom in on
Show us the tree.
Madrid,
Show us the tree.
Let's take a look at our brand new capital. So this is a Greek city. It was called Chalkis when it was our Greek city. We built the Oracle here. We built a Greek unique quarter. The Parthenon. You can see our Greek heritage is just sort of
a lot of
looming
that is
over
still
our new
remaining.
Spanish city. But we're going to start making it Spanish. The population buildings filling in around the various urban tiles are
you can see
starting
a
to
lot
look
of the buildings
Spanish
are still
now.
there.
We also have a bunch of buildings that have carried over from Antiquity. So, for instance, if we look in the water here, we have a lighthouse and
So it doesn't go
pier
away from the
there,
last
and
age.
those are from Antiquity. The Antiquity buildings are not going to be as strong here in the Exploration Age. They lose their adjacency bonuses, but they provide their basic yield effects.
Right. All right, let's jump into choosing some civics. We want to start advancing down these new legacy
Go on,
paths.
show
And
us
like you
down.
said
Show us down the
before, those
trees.
do change from age to age. So let's talk a little bit about what we might want to do with a culture when we see that we are being recommended piety as our culture path here.
So this is,
And
I
that's
think,
because it has a
how you get
temple.
to
So we wanna talk
religions.
a little bit about temples and how that works.
Okay, so actually, I think let's pop open the legacy path.
show me the tree.
screen
Show me the
up
tree.
of-
Bose has got it.
of the progress, and the first one we come to is culture, anyways. So the first
Display 12 relics. Okay.
objective in terms of these legacy paths is going to be to collect relics.
The
And how do you
relics
get
seem to be
relics? Where do they
religious
come
and
from?
cultural.
They're part of our new religion system. And they are rewards that you get from spreading your religion around the world. There's a lot of changes to the way religion
Okay.
works compared to Civ 5 and Civ 6. I think the number one change is that every player can start a religion.
Everyone
And
gets
there's
a
no longer
religion.
that race to, oh my God, I got to get a religion quick or I'm going to get locked out. You don't have to worry about that anymore. So every player gets to start one. They're going to get a holy city. That holy city is protected from being converted.
Everyone
by other
gets a holy
players.
So
city.
you also can never lose your religion.
You can never
Correct.
lose your religion.
But you can certainly be diminished, and the AI we'll see is pretty aggressive about spreading its religion,
Absolutely.
and so you have to focus on it.
So holy city can
and
never be converted.
Like religion systems in previous games, there are a different sets of beliefs that you choose. We'll get to that once we have unlocked a religion, and the requirement there is to research piety, get the temple unlocked. We'll probably buy a temple with gold so that we can get that gameplay going as fast as we can, and we'll
That's why
explain
you
it
had
in more
3,000
depth
gold
as we get.
saved over. Makes sense.
Do you want to go over these others, or should we return to some gameplay?
Let's go back to some gameplay and then we'll.
No,
we'll
show
talk
us.
about-
Show us.
Well,
No.
I want you to definitely get those ships moving, and then we can talk about some gameplay based on that.
Absolutely. So I'm gonna start building a settler here because we do want to settle new towns in the distant
Yeah,
lands.
you do.
So we'll
Yeah, you
build that
do.
now so that we can move it over.
29
but you talked about
population.
getting ships out. So
Why
I'm gonna
did
go
you
ahead and
change that?
purchase-
Ugh.
We have a large amount of gold here, so we're gonna purchase a ship, a cog in Athens here. We do have one for
is
free
the
in our
basic-
capital at the start of the age.
purchase.
Oh, so
You're
you-
right. I selected it for production. We want to switch to the purchase menu, and I will buy
300
the
gold.
cog.
That's
There it
cheap.
is. We have one in our capital, Madrid.
That's
new
very
capital
cheap.
of Madrid. But Athens is a little bit higher up here and has some great coastal access with this navigable river. So that will let us sail out from there. And I'm also going to come back down here, and we'll take the cog that we get in our capital, and we'll move
I
it.
just love this
Out
this
here.
bay. That,
So this is the thing.
Madrid
The city's on a
right
lake,
It's got a
but you
one
can still
navigable
use the
tile-
navigable river.
tile that opens up into this basically
Brilliant,
lake
brilliant.
that we've put our lighthouse.
And I love that it
naval
keeps
base.
going up to Sparta, too. That's really,
does.
really cool.
That's
And
very
that
cool. I like
volcano
that. That's an awesome
erupted
map.
so many times in Antiquity. I actually gave up on trying to keep that iron mine going because it just was getting demolished over and over again.
It's getting raided too
yields.
much. I
The
love
yields
that.
are so
and
good.
the yields were just spilling into those river valleys. It was pretty fabulous.
I also want to shout out really quickly. You can kind of see as you transition from antiquity to exploration, your relationships with the players maintain slightly, right? We had a couple questions from chat, I think, asking
Yeah.
about
Xerxes still
whether
hates
you're
us.
at war with a player in the previous age. Does that still carry over, for example?
So the wars are ended. I mean, all the empires are being disrupted, and there's probably a period of decades
Oh,
or
the
maybe even
resources
hundreds
have
of
all
years
changed.
between one age and the next. So there's no active war that continues over. But civ leaders live a long time. Civ leaders are hard to get to go away, and civ leaders remember. And so Carl
immortal.
can go and look at some of the relationships we have here, and our two friends from Antiquity, Ashoka.
Oh, yeah, she puts
and
their
Hatshepsut
agendas
are
on the
still
map. I
very
like
friendly
that.
with us. Maybe not quite as friendly as they were before when they were allies, but they're definitely trending on that side of things. And Xerxes is still pretty mad at us.
Xerxes just
we've
doesn't
got
like
Xerxes
anyone.
to contend with, and then there are some, we'll get to them, but some other players maybe in the distant lands that we'll be introduced to as well.
Let's take a quick look at what Xerxes did. Since he's hostile with us, we want to be aware of what's happening here. I also noticed that you didn't build any walls in many of your cities. You have some in Sparta here, but now that we are in exploration, those walls aren't present, and walls actually evolve into a
And
new
I have
type.
a good explanation for this. If we
So
go
the
up to
walls don't
Thebes in
make
the
sense
operating
now.
report,
Interesting.
You can see that there were all these mountains along my border with Xerxes, and what I wanted to do was put military units in the
So you
where
use
the silk
chokeholds
resources
rather than
and
defending
that
your cities. I
mountain
like that.
gap
That's
right
very
next to the
smart.
lake, and then I fortified them in place.
And it was a beautiful fortification
So
line.
I had a little Maginot line kind of going there.
or
and-
was good.
Thermopylae.
yes, exactly. I guess that's more period appropriate.
Yes, it is.
So, anyways, Xerxes was bottled in very nicely, but
Yeah, resources do
now
appear
I
to evolve,
agree.
which is interesting.
If he comes at us from the north, we don't have any fortifications in place. And what is he doing in terms of what empire he moved forward to?
I think we have to advance the turn in order to see
Okay.
what his legacy choices were, because those occur on the first turn.
Right, and we're
so
not
we'll,
there
we'll
yet.
check back in with him, but
Check back in with him.
we'll go ahead and pick our social policies here. So as you were talking about those reset, our government will reset. We do have to.
So we've
pick
got all of the
from
Greek
our
policies still.
traditions
There you
only.
go.
We have no, because we've done no civics here. We have no exploration age social policies to pick from. Only our Greek
So you better
traditions.
unlock
we'll go
them,
ahead and
otherwise you
slot
won't
some
have
of these in.
anything.
I want to get Xenia in to befriend independence that we might come across, and let's go ahead and do some endeavor potential here.
And Kappa from chat asks, does each civ have unique policies?
Yes, every single civ has unique traditions that they're able to unlock over the course of an age, and then those will still be present in exploration, and then even in modern as you continue to progress. So you're able to layer all of those
Her
things
pet
together.
shirt smile
And
is
remember,
hilarious. You're right, Bez.
The unique civic tree. Imagine the civics tree from a previous civic game like Civ 6. There's a small new branch of it with anywhere from 2 to 4 nodes that represents
That's
those
a cool
unique civics,
stacked
for
commander.
Greece
Look at this.
before, for Spain now. We'll be diving in and picking some of those in just a minute. But that's where those traditions.
It's a
get
lot of
unlocked.
3
So
units you
have
get
to make a
actually on the new
decision
age.
In terms of
It's
your
a lot of
culture,
3
do you
units.
invest it in sort of your own uniqueness, or do you get some of those things that push you towards the end of the civics tree that everyone's sharing? That's a hard decision sometimes, but the really powerful stuff typically
Looks like all of
is in
the
your
units
unique
have
tree, so
upgraded.
you don't want to sleep on doing that.
Right.
But in order to get a religion going, we have to invest in the generic civic policy. So actually, we're not in our unique tree quite yet.
The last thing we have to do here is pick those leader attributes that we unlocked as part of our legacies.
Yep.
One thing that's really interesting about leader attributes is they persist as you progress across the
So
ages.
your leader
we
just
do
gets
have,
better and better over the
some
course of the game.
bonuses here from what we've unlocked in Antiquity, and these are carrying forward with us. So as we acquire more points, whether it's through something that happens in an age like these bonuses here, or through the legacy cards that we picked, we're able to continue to level up our leader and add more things to them as we continue.
So they're going to get very good by the end of the game. So you can see a lot of the options that we've talked about before.
So I'm going to spend some of these points here.
Science per age on palace and
seems
city
really good. Get
halls.
some free
I
science
liked
here.
the tech
And
masteries
just
and
as
civic
another
masteries. They were
reminder,
really good. Production towards
the
buildings is
types
pretty
of
strong
points
as well,
that
to be
you've
fair.
accumulated in each age are
Or
keyed
combat
towards
strength, combat strength.
The attributes that
No!
you see mentioned
No!
for your civ and leader selection. So, like leaders have two different, like, for instance, Isabella.
Minimap
is an
needs a
expansionist
rework.
leader.
It does.
So
You're
at
right.
every age that you play as Isabella, you'll keep getting expansionist.
The 3 new
attributes.
governments.
But Spain
Feudal monarchy,
brings in different
plutocracy,
attributes to the mix, so your choice of
theocracy.
civilization also factors into which of those attribute points.
Theocracy,
So if you were to
40%
pick a
production
civ and a
towards
leader that
civilian
had
units.
That kind of expansionist synergy, then you would just be raking in.
Big.
And then you can
Big.
invest in the legacy path that also rewards
That's huge.
expansionist points. And so, yeah, absolutely. If your strategy is to try to push as deep into those attribute trees as possible, that works very well.
Right. All right, it looks like we're disembarking here.
Yeah, finally starting to sail out here.
Right.
And
So we're gonna
the
see. So you
text that I
basically you
picked
can
for us to
explore the
research
new
is
world
cartography,
from turn
which,
1.
Sven
I like
mentioned
that.
something about
It's
sailing
right into the
deep
action.
Ocean. Can you talk a little bit about that while I continue to play
Okay,
here?
so we're looking
Can't
at
stay at
our
desktop.
cogs. They are still in shallow water along the coast, but there's some darker blue deep water just ahead of them. So if you remember the new movement system that we talked about in some of the earliest live streams that's different in Civ 6, it's all based on terrain being a turn-ending blockage to
Yes,
your
this is what I was
movement.
talking about
So
with
you
hills.
move as many movement points as you have, and then when you hit any type of obstacle that is turn-ending, your movement is stopped. And at the beginning of the exploration age, ocean is treated the same way.
Interesting. So you can move through ocean, but every tile ends your movement.
Dangerous.
Very
and
interesting.
Every turn you end in the ocean, you take some damage.
Ouch.
So
You take damage if you end your
can
turn in
make
the
it across
ocean.
the ocean in most cases. If you're not careful and you sail through with lots of deep ocean, you may not even make it to the other end. But I think
that's harsh.
in our situations here, you'll probably make it. Now, one thing that
So
we
you
do in
basically
map
got an
figurations
island
is to
hop
give
at
you
the
a little
beginning of the
help
age.
to get across the seas, because if you think about how any of those early explorers worked, there were
This is
islands
placing over
off
buildings.
the
Did you see
coast,
that?
And as they
He's
started
placing it
proceeding
over a
out
building.
into the Atlantic, the first thing that the Spanish did is they're like, "Whoa, the Canary Islands are here. We're going to settle here, and that'll be a great base for us to move on."
So they want
the
you to
Canary
island hop.
Islands,
They
the
want
Cape
you to
Verde
go from place to
Islands,
place.
Madeira,
Interesting.
The Azores, all those became highly significant bases for the European powers to sail west and get to the
Look,
New
he
World.
can
And
see
we
some
represent
land
that.
there.
Carl just revealed that he's come up on a sort of passageway where he's going to have to go over deep
Open
ocean
ocean.
tile, but there looks like there's an island there, and that's sort of along the lines of those historical
Okay, so he's going
islands.
to take some damage at the end of this
So
turn.
in most of our map types, not all of our map types, but in this particular Terra Incognita map type, it does
Minus 11.
represent the same
About
type
9
of situation
turns you can
that
survive,
they faced
roughly.
when they were first doing New World exploration,
Right.
where you will find islands at some density. It'll depend on the map generation between you and the New World.
And I imagine if you
That's a good
tweak the
look.
settings to
It
have
looks
a
so
larger
beautiful.
map
Look at all the
too,
reefs.
then you're going to be facing more of those rough seas.
Yes, you could have those big blocks where you have just 4 or 5 tiles to go across before you find anything, and
Right.
you're taking damage every turn, and you may not make
Yeah,
it.
Columbus was a nutter.
We can see that our settler actually was not even able to enter open ocean yet, and that's what cartography is going to do for us. It will unlock
So,
the
so
ability
your
for these
settlers
units
can't
to
navigate until
then also
cartography.
sail across.
Interesting.
And we got a question from chat from the Hyatt, who asks, when you bring your founder to a distant land, is the initial founder a town or a city?
Okay, so we'll be very clear about our terminology, just to be very precise. The founder is your settler unit only at the beginning of Antiquity.
Yeah, I was going to say,
When
you don't have a
the-
founder in
or if you do an
exploration.
advanced start.
Because
Right.
you've already got cities.
Well, a lot of the advanced
Actually, no,
starts
you're right,
actually
and it is
have,
only Antiquity.
have,
You're right,
have
you're
your initial town place, so it's pretty much the only in Antiquity.
A lot of
Every
advanced
other,
starts have your town
unit
placed.
used to
Ah.
create new settlements is called a settler.
Interesting.
And every settlement, when it first is created by a settler, starts as a town. It will have to then be upgraded into a city at a gold expenditure.
And that remains true for distant lands
So
too,
does.
regardless.
you get you got 6 gold from the bazaar there,
So
but another +3 to
anytime
building
here, I
over
think
something.
It's about time to us to talk about why we're so focused on the distant lands. And so, if you want to start showing some
It's
more
like
of
he
those
knew where it
legacy paths.
was.
There's one thing I'm going to jump in with
Okay.
before we do. I actually just selected to place this bazaar on top of
Yeah, this
a
is the
building we already have.
overwriting.
We had a market and a garden right here. So I am replacing the garden with a bazaar, and this is what's called overbuilding. This is something that's unique to a new age when you've played a previous one. or in this case, actually doing an advanced start does apply here as well. What happens is you do, like you said, you lose all of your adjacency bonuses on your Antiquity buildings. They're still present. They're still providing you some yield. We can see in this case I'm getting 2 gold from the market, but all of the adjacencies that it had went away. So in order for me to maximize my city tiles now, I want to replace these previous age buildings with the new ones. So I'm building this bazaar on top of this, and it will get adjacencies and as well as a higher base yield, and it will be a much more powerful urban district or quarter.
So you keep your base yield on your Antiquity buildings. They remove the adjacencies. And you have to build over them to get the adjacencies back, and you get an increased base yield on the new building.
Anyone selling their wares coming in from goods. So that's why we've chosen the adjacency bonus of coastal tiles, given adjacency to all of the gold-based buildings.
Right.
And that's also
30% reduction to overbuilding. Good spot. Good spot, guys.
To market, but now we're going to upgrade it to basically the new age building. It's still going to be in that same sort of classification of buildings of the gold-producing buildings, but we want that bazaar because the bazaar is going to turn on those adjacency bonuses for us. So what you end up seeing is players do have a lot of choice over how to develop their city and which 2 buildings they combine where.
Yeah.
But you'll find there are patterns to the way the adjacency bonuses work. You have these adjacencies that come from coast or river that encourage the mercantile trade. We have a really interesting switch up to the what adjacency promotes science. You want to talk about that a little bit?
I'm not sure I know what you mean.
So science adjacencies
Bad
come from
question.
resources now?
Yes.
So it's
you mean from Civ 6?
So Civ 6.
I was like, is there? I have been out on paternity leave, and we said it earlier.
No, I didn't change anything.
No, he thought he'd missed something.
Yes, in Civ 6, you got science adjacency from reefs, with Gathering Storm, you got it from geothermal vents, and then mountains, and now it's from resources. So science and production buildings both get adjacency, their respective building adjacency from resources, and so you want to place those buildings.
So basically, adjacencies are on buildings now, not on districts,
so here we can
and
see we
they're
have
all
a
different.
library and a blacksmith that was adjacent to
So
2 resources.
so the cotton and the horse is giving science adjacency for the science
quick,
building.
Before we stray too far from overbuilding, we do have a question from Lunar Soul Gaming who asks, can you overbuild an ageless building?
That is a fantastic question. So there's actually 2 types of buildings that cannot be overbuilt. One of those is ageless.
So you can't
Ageless
overbuild
means that
ageless.
once that building has been placed, its effects continue to persist regardless or continue to matter regardless of the age.
So they always work.
So things like the Civ Unique buildings, the Parthenon and the Odeon, those are ageless. Once they're placed,
So
we
the
cannot
Forum
build
with
over
Rome,
those.
for instance.
So this Greek quarter that we have here, the Acropolis, is going to stay here throughout exploration, throughout modern. We will always have these buildings. We can never replace them. The second type is persistent, and those are on our warehouse buildings, like the granary here. Persistent is very similar to ageless in that you cannot overbuild it, and its bonuses continue to matter. However, persistent buildings can continue to be built in future ages. So if we do not have a granary in a settlement, we can still make a granary in a settlement.
Right, so granaries remain granaries throughout every age. Okay.
And talking about the legacies, the last part of this is that this matters with our specialist system. Specialists that you place onto the map are still there once you transition, but what specialists do is they boost the adjacencies of the buildings in that tile. All of those go away from the
So specialists give science and culture, but they also then give you another 100% of all of the adjacencies on the buildings of that tile.
For our science legacy path. So now we'll do that and jump back in here.
So let's talk about the science legacy path. We'll switch over to that. So the science legacy path is all about
40
building
yields.
super
40
powerful
yields on a tile
tiles within your cities. And so this adjacency game that we've talked about,
Love
this
it.
overbuilding game that we've been talking about, it is the path to enlightenment, so to speak. So
basically, science is just
this,
spam
goal
specialists.
that people
spam
can see
them
here, if they're
all over
looking
the
right
place.
under the word enlightenment, you can see you actually have to get all the way up to 40 total yields from a tile, which seems quite incredible, quite high. You know, this is normal gameplay. How am I going to, normally Civ 6, you only saw yields like that maybe around a Natural Wonder or Vampire Castle or any crazy situations. But this is actually pretty normal gameplay here in the Exploration Age, that you can get a few tiles in your cities up to this level.
At the end of the age.
At the end of the
That
age,
is so cool.
when you can place...
It basically
right now
preserves,
we're limited to one
they
specialist
identified as
per
being one of
tile,
people's
and we
favorite
unlock
aspects of
higher
Civ 6, and
specialist
now they've
caps
brought
as we
in
go
that
through
sort of
the age.
yield stacking
We have to
really
get,
far. This
our
would be fun.
adjacency buildings, so buildings from this age
We love
put
big
in place.
numbers.
We'll want to stack 2 of them in the tile, and both of them have strong adjacencies. And then each specialist we put down on top of that helps both.
And this is
of those
interesting because you've got to be
buildings
really
get
careful
better and
with
better
where you put your
adjacencies.
buildings and
And then
cities,
you'll
because you've
also see
really
in
got
our
to get these
civics tree,
adjacencies high.
there are
Because
civics
40 is quite
that
difficult to get to.
temporarily
I think
boost adjacency bonuses.
20 will be a really easy number to get to, but
Or certain
40,
types of buildings.
that's quite a
That's
lot.
how you can finally get all the way up to 40 total yields.
Or it won't
You want to
be.
do some of the others
We'll
here?
find
Yeah,
out.
let's go ahead and finish off the legacy pass.
So you're talking about distant lands. We'll go ahead and jump into economic here.
Okay, so
Treasure
the
fleet points.
economic victory is all about bringing back those exotic goods from distant lands.
Bringing back
we were talking
exotic
about
goods.
Map generation, about how the map on the other side of the world can get differently generated from the homeland. But what also can happen on the other side of the world is new resources that only occur there.
New
will show
luxuries
up
on
in
other
those
lands.
that we never had access to in the homelands. There are changes to a whole bunch of resources as we go across a transition. Some of them become obsolete. We get some new ones.
Some
like
resources
Niter
are
have
obsolete.
appeared
We
on
saw
the
that,
map. We
actually.
can see that when we go back to the map. But the most important resources are those ones that are so exotic, they're greatly desired back at home, and we can cash them in for amazing profits when we get them back home.
Love it.
And those resources, we'll see some examples of them, are what we call treasure resources.
Treasure
And when you
resources.
settle
Basically,
near a
these are the things
treasure
you've got to collect
resource
on distant
and
lands.
set up a settlement there that has all the naval facilities, the docks and stuff that it
Yeah,
needs.
come on, keep playing,
And you
keep
get
playing. We wanna see this
to
stuff.
The shipbuilding technology, which is about halfway through the technology tree, all of a sudden you start to produce treasure fleets. And
Treasure fleets.
are units that are generated automatically by these settlements, have to be protected on their way home, but if you get them home, you can cash them in for points towards this legacy
Tradings
points
you've
and
got to
just
protect.
gold that you can spend on whatever.
Yeah.
So it's
Interesting.
possible one of our enemies, like Xerxes, might hop in there and try and take a treasure fleet.
Absolutely, and I have alluded to the fact we've had some crazy naval battles in some of our multiplayer games. In when the development team's been testing all this out, treasure fleets are quite interesting in multiplayer because you grab one, you attack it, you steal it, you can take it home, cash it in for
Interesting.
your victory
You can
points,
steal other people's
your
treasure
gold,
fleets. So we're going to
and
see
the other player works.
privateers and
They're
piracy.
also worth a variable amount of points based on how many treasures were around that settlement. So you might attack one you don't know. Is this thing loaded with a ton of gold, or just
Yeah, you're right, though. Civ 5 had that
smallish
aspect, didn't
amount?
it?
But then you
You
capture
couldn't
it,
steal them.
find
You
out.
just
Yeah,
destroyed them.
can't
This
tell
one you can
until
steal
take
them.
it.
Right.
And this is unique gameplay to this unit because unlike previous iterations of Civ, we don't have the ability to capture units. Like a settler, if you attack a settler, it will destroy it. You can't capture that unit anymore. Treasure fleets
Yeah,
are the
settlers
only
are
type of
destroyed if
unit
you
that
take
you're
them in
actually
this
able to
game.
capture from other players and then use yourself. It converts to your unit and you're able to take it back. They can trade hands multiple times. Piracy was ripe throughout
see it.
history. It was constant in Antiquity and still has some cases today. But this was sort of the golden age of piracy in multiple different places in the world. And you can go sort of be a pirate yourself and steal
Be a pirate.
treasure fleets from
Love
other
it.
players.
I love
and
what I'm hearing.
capitalize on
And
that.
actually,
Any
let's
option that
pull
gives you
up on the military
piracy.
one for just a second.
Sure.
Go back to the map and let's look at our continent lens. We may want to look at it again a little bit later when we've revealed a little bit more of the map, but the continent lens is an interesting tool for us to kind of look at the geography of the world. It's similar
Treasure
to the continent
resources
lens that we had in
available.
Civ 6, where there's a color coding of each continent. You can see where
So
they
it
start
tells you
and
which
they
are the new
end.
continents. Interesting.
And we actually have found some of the offshore islands that are still part of our home continent of Atlantica here, but we haven't actually reached the far distant continents. So
these aren't
what
actually new continents
you
yet.
see from the continent lens is that there are different availabilities for these treasure resources I've been talking about based on sort of how far across the map you have pushed.
Not so many
In these
lenses, are there?
islands
But
nearby
there are
our homeland,
lenses.
You can encounter some treasure resources, so don't dismiss those. Those can be very useful sources of them. but it's over on the other continents where they're going to be filled with treasure resources all around, and you'll be able to find quite a few of them. So we'll go back to the continent lens later, and one of the cool things about it is it keeps track of the number of continent lenses that you found. So if you're trying to like, oh, where did I see that really cool
Carl is such a
sugar
clicker.
resource or something?
It's
that's gonna
like
give
keyboard
me,
shortcuts. I guess he's showing us what
spices
he's
or
doing,
whatever
to be
it
fair.
was.
I'll give him
That
that.
will help you remember where those are.
Right. Seems like there's a real prerogative to get over to distant lands.
big old
We haven't
flag.
even talked about the fourth legacy path, which is also important for that as well.
Yep. You have a flood happening here.
Another question from chat: can we connect defensive combat units to the treasure fleets?
So the attachment of units together, like was possible in Civ 6, sort of works through the commanders right now. And the commanders
It's basically
you know,
no.
can have units included in their army. We'll see in a second that Spain has a really good advantage in doing this. So they can actually, you know, have even more units traveling.
So this
with
is a
commander.
town that's got a bit bigger. Currently it's growing.
Yeah,
He's
that
now
would be
going to
how you would do
specialize
if
it
you wanted
to make it a
hook in
food town.
treasure fleet.
You could protect them essentially, right?
That's going to make a lot more food for his cities now.
It'll take 2 turns of rough seas damage here to get
So
across.
an interesting thing is in previous Civ games, naval units had to return to home waters in order to heal. And that was sort of particularly cumbersome with our new system where ocean was causing damage
gonna say.
each turn. So we've made a change there. Basically, any of these
A new continent.
exploration age ships can stop on a coastal tile and spend a whole turn there refitting.
Oh,
cutting
so
down some more trees and
they can
patching up
actually
their
heal
their,
on coast
you know, sides
tiles.
of the ship where
Nice.
it's taking damage, getting some new tar and pitch to fill in those holes that they might have accumulated. That are leaking.
Interesting.
And so you can actually heal as you're moving across. It's going to slow you down, but that is definitely an option as you're exploring. Is take a few turns, rest back up at one of these islands that's midway across the ocean, and then push
So
forward
that's
and
really
see what
interesting.
can
So you
find.
don't need to come home to heal your
As long as we
exploration
can get back
units.
to shallow water.
That's so useful.
Like an oven's
Oh, so
Oh,
we got
it's a natural wonder.
wonder here.
Yes, we do.
Thera.
This is Thera, which is island in the Greek Aegean, Aegean Sea, I should say. And
That's very
as
cool
Isabella,
looking.
this is really good for us. So this is now considered distant lands, so we get to double the gold that we acquire.
gonna
from
say,
So
this
we
will be
got
a big load of
600
gold.
from revealing this. And
600.
This,
Oh.
wonder provides 6 culture and 3 happiness on each of these tiles. So
That's
if we
big.
settle here as Isabella, we are going to get 12 culture and 6
That
happiness.
boat down
Oh,
there.
that's
So
such
we're gonna reveal
Wow.
this. Yeah. Well, I've got a
So
a
that's
settler up here.
48
Try to
culture
reroute.
if you claim all of those
Let's
tiles. And
reroute
he's on
the settler.
112
We still
right
have
now.
4
That would
turns,
be
so we
almost
can move it across. We've got time to
50%.
move it down.
Okay.
Oh, I
I've
want
got
to
a
play
question
Spain so
from
badly.
White Nerdy TV,
Oh.
great username. Does cartography or other texts increase speed through
I
devotion?
take refuge.
So cartography does not, but we'll see that one of those Spanish bonuses that we were talking about before does.
Got it.
And we're gonna later in the stream
So,
we'll get to
a new
one way to speed
civilization.
up your ships.
We met somebody.
Yes.
A new Civ. So this is Confucius.
So we have tons of influence available.
Who's he
I think
playing?
we're saving this to try to influence any independent powers we come across, particularly having our Greek background and traditions to be able to use. But I think we've got 20 to spare on a friendly greeting
Absolutely.
here.
So who's he playing? Next China?
For now, we'll be friendly with Confucius.
Sure.
Now
Ming.
notice the Confucius
Ming. There you
is
go.
a 5th leader.
That is a reveal.
We never met Confucius at all during Antiquity. He must have his capital somewhere over in the distant lands. And you can see that the AI knows how important scouting and going out over the seas is to all the gameplay in this exploration age, because we sailed halfway across the ocean, we were around one of these islands, and the AI has come out and met us out there.
Yeah. They keep going on about how good their new AI is. I am
Confucius is the
optimistic
Ming
that it plays well.
Civilization. I don't think we've talked about what exploration age civs the other leaders have chosen. So we
Oh,
might
you're
wanna
right.
do that.
Let's come back to
So this
that.
is Ming.
We did have
Yeah,
to
yeah,
advance
yeah.
the turn to see that. So We have
We might have known about them.
Xerxes up here, who was Persia, but this was their capital and it no longer has that big star on it. So they must have also selected to move their capital just like we did. And they only had one other settlement.
So they've gone
It
for the
looks like
coast
they've
on the other
switched to
side.
Mongolia. So that's a little scary. They might try to come back.
So we had all the fortifications up on the northern border, worried about Xerxes last time. Now look at that. There are like 3 road tiles right between his city and our capital.
Yeah.
We
He's
just
going to get
revealed
Mongolia pretty
too,
quick.
and
Absolutely.
Definitely kind of a scary civ to have not be friendly with you in the game.
And this is one reason I wanted to talk about the 4th legacy path after we had shown that Xerxes was in the game as Mongolia, because Mongolia has a very unique way to approach that legacy path, and
You want to dive into that now?
Let's dive into that now.
Sounds
Okay,
good.
so this is the military path.
So the military
12 points from settlements
victory
in
path is
distant
called
lands.
Non-sufficit orbis.
Doubled
we
if
revealed this name when we revealed
if
Mongolia
conquered.
because they have a special way they approach this. But for a normal
Quadrupled
player,
if you convert
this is
it.
all about getting settlements down, sort of like the Pax victory was in Antiquity. You're still
So
going
that's only
for 12
3
points, just like
cities
you
that
were
are
in
conquered with your
Antiquity.
religion. Interesting.
But now you get 1 point only if that settlement is in the distant lands.
Yeah.
And then you can multiply the points from it if it's a conquered settlement or if it's a settlement over in the distant lands that's following your religion.
So that makes religion matter for 2 of these legacy paths.
Right.
Religion's involved.
Obviously it matters for
Interesting.
the culture one where we're accumulating the relics, but now it's important here. And I also think distant lands gameplay is very important for 2 of the paths as well. The economic one, obviously,
most
for
of
the treasure
these
fleets,
Right.
trees
and here for
give
the
you way
military
more
one as
bonuses
well.
if you're on distant
Now,
lands than if you're in your own
so
lands.
how's
You've got to get
Mongolia
out there.
different? Mongolia, I think we can actually look at his leader abilities and read those out, so we make sure that everyone knows how to get to that information.
So this is the Mongolia ability.
So,
Here.
Oh,
yep.
there it is.
Gain 1 point towards the non-sufficit orbis legacy path for controlled settlements in the distant lands and conquered settlements in the homeland.
So he gets
So
it
notice
from conquering in the
Mongolia
homelands.
is
So he actually
allowed
wants
to
to
get
stay
points
behind
for
and wreak
settlements in the
havoc.
homelands.
Interesting.
Right.
No one else is. For us, the only way we can, as Spain, get points is we have to do things over on the other side of the world. He can just roll over his home continent and be racking up points while he's
Right.
doing it. So it's a very
Oh, I
different
love that.
approach.
Such a different game. It's like you can go
and
out if you
We
want
do
and
also
find
have this
stuff, but
part
I'm
here
taking
about
your stuff.
controlled settlements in distant lands. So he still gets a point if he has a distant land settlement, whether he founded it or if he conquered it, but he doesn't get those bonus points for conquering it in distant lands or for having
he actually gets
converted to
less.
religion, just for having
He
the
doesn't
settlement.
get it from
Always
religion.
one
So
thing at a
actually, he
time.
And
really
the-
needs to
the
conquer.
distinction between
That's
controlled
tough.
versus conquered, just being controlled, you founded or
or
settled.
or conquered.
Right.
Both
so,
of those.
So if we look at
I
the map
see.
here, he's got 3 settlements down there, but you'll see he has no progress towards this legacy path right now because those were the ones he started the age with. Now, if he builds a huge cavalry army and starts rolling over the map, boom, he's starting to rack up points.
Right.
And so if you like that kind of gameplay, and maybe,
Yeah.
you know,
So this is
not
the option where
everyone's
you
gonna
can just
love
be like,
the
I don't
naval
care.
gameplay of
I'm gonna take
exploration,
all your
I'm a little
stuff.
sad
Goodbye.
about that. That's my favorite. But if there are players that don't like it as much as I do, they can go, and Mongolia is an awesome choice for them. We have some other civilizations we'll reveal later in the exploration age that also are not as focused on the sort of exploration gameplay as Spain is, but we'll talk about them more later.
So they're
We
going to
have
build
a
some
temple
temples
available.
now.
So I think we should just go ahead and purchase this. We still have tons of gold. We just got 600 gold from discovering that natural wonder. So we can immediately put that into purchasing a temple. Let's find a good spot for it.
Likes mountains.
It likes mountains, so
It
this
also,
would be decent.
remember that every single building gets adjacencies
From
from
wonders.
wonders. And I built the Hanging Gardens here next to Athens Acropolis. We have the Colossus off the coast. We have Angkor Wat, I think, or
up here.
Yeah.
So we've got
You build a
we've
lot
got
of wonders.
3 spots that are 6s. So we do want to take a look at what we'll be replacing and what other adjacencies we have around us. There's a resource here and here, so that's good for this still being a science and production spot.
Yeah, this is where the specialists are going to be
I
really
think-
interesting. You've got to think so hard about where you put your
Put it
buildings.
right here. You
The
have
shadow
2.
of the Hanging Gardens.
You have 2 wonders here.
Yeah.
I think that's probably a pretty good placement for it.
Sounds like where
And it's building over the monument,
Yeah.
so you get extra
So
happiness
we've
as well.
purchased a temple here. Let's zoom in. We can see the temple right here.
There it is.
And that allows us to found a religion. So let's go ahead and open that up.
Oh, so you get it immediately.
So here we do have a whole bunch of religions available. We don't see any custom ones, but I believe those are coming.
Those
Custom
on the
religions are
way.
coming, okay.
We've been testing a prototype version of that. It just wasn't quite ready for the build today.
Sure.
It wasn't ready
we'll
for
go ahead
today.
and do
Okay, but we will get
Catholicism,
custom
which is pretty
religions.
historically accurate. So we're going to pick that and confirm, and now we get to add our beliefs.
This all looks
So
pretty
we
similar.
get an enhancer belief and a founder belief, and it looks like we can unlock additional belief slots through gameplay as we continue to
Liquidary
progress.
beliefs,
And
that's
players
new.
shouldn't get too locked into exactly how this is set up. This is something we're doing a little bit of a balance pass on right now. I think. before
Okay,
the
so
game
religion's
releases,
gonna change a
the
lot.
Exact order and.
Is there Feed the
where
World,
you
though?
unlock these
Come on,
beliefs
there's gotta
may
be Feed the
have-
World.
May change before we ship the game.
Sure.
But the enhancer and the founder beliefs are very similar to what you would remember from Civ 6, where an enhancer belief is a
Defender of
way
the
that your
faith.
religion spreads in a unique, stronger fashion than
Go
the
on,
other religions
Crusade.
in the game.
Crusade?
So I think when I
No
played through this
Crusade.
game, I chose
Oh.
the enhancer belief called conversion.
Stella
the very
Maris
top
looks
one,
really good for
which
sending on
lets
missionaries
any
abroad.
town I settle in a distant
Conversion,
land start with my
instant
religion
conversion
place.
on your
That
new
seems
The
pretty
cities.
reason I did that is I'm playing as Spain. I know I'm going to make a big distant land push.
Right.
It's going to
Yeah,
be a
that's
lot
really
simpler
good.
if,
And that
boom,
stacks with the
all those
victory
cities are
points,
Catholic
because if
right
you
off
keep
the bat, I don't
settling,
have to
that's
ferry
2 points
missionaries
per
over there to
town.
get that.
So you still have a
Interesting.
missionary unit that can be used to convert settlements. And I believe you have to have a temple in order to create them. So if you start with this in place in distant lands, you can then get a temple and immediately start pumping out missionaries over there without having to go through the process of moving them across the ocean.
And when we get to reliquary beliefs, there's a cool strategy that you can do that sort of builds right
And
on
then
that.
founder,
good.
come on,
We
feed
do
the
have a
world, feed the
couple
world.
people asking in chat, can
Oh,
multiple
there's
leaders
everyone's
found the same
favorite teeth.
religion or select the same religion?
No, it's the same.
Holy
that works the
Waters,
same
Sacred
as
Heart.
in our previous Civ 5 and Civ 6.
I
where
don't see
once
Feed
I
the
choose
World anywhere.
Catholicism, everyone else is going to have to pick a different one. Just we don't want the symbols to get too confusing
Right.
and the
And the
names to get
names.
too confusing.
And the beliefs are the same way, just like with Pantheon. So those are first come, first serve. You want to kind of rush to this if possible.
So some
if
of
you
them
plan on
seem to
playing a
be
religious game,
foreign
because once
bonuses,
you've
some of them
selected
seem
the
to be
belief,
in
it
your
goes
own
away for all
cities.
other players. What did you pick for your founder belief? And just like in Civ 6, this is something that only you get for your religion when it's spread to other settlements.
Yeah, most
So
of
a
these
lot
are
of these founder
spreading.
beliefs are terrain based, but I didn't know a lot about like the terrain in the distant lands
Sure.
that I was going to be encountering. So I typically in that situation I will go for either tithe or interfaith dialogue.
I am always a fan of interfaith
And,
dialogue.
yeah.
Extra science always
Fairly-
works.
Fairly safe, and science is good no matter what.
So you've got to
we'll confirm
spread your
that,
religion for that to work.
And there we go. We now have our holy city established here in Athens.
And you can see that there are two Catholic icons here. Everyone's going to say, wow, that looks like a weird bug. Why did they double that up on the UI? That shouldn't be like that. But it's actually important. So if you remember Civ 6's system, there was a whole system of religious pressure, and it counted citizen by citizen how many followers each religion had.
Okay.
Was very cool in terms of like it's a simulation of
It was
religious
very
pressure
complicated.
and
Very
plot
complicated.
spreading around the world. But we decided that was more than we needed for
Good.
Civilization 7 when the primary age of religious gameplay was just going to be in the exploration age. So what we wanted to do is simplify that down a little bit. And now rather than tracking every single person, for a given settlement we track the urban population and the rural population. So there basically are two data points. And if you convert both of those, then that city follows your religion.
So the
you
urban and
get the
rural
bonuses that we've
populations
been
can
talking
believe
about, like the
different
type
things.
bonus or the, stewardship bonus,
Interesting.
all those types of things unlock when you have both of those lined up, both the rural and the urban population in a settlement following that religion. It's sort of even easier to convert a settlement for the very first time. So whenever a missionary goes to the settlement for the very first time and uses one of his charges to do a conversion action there, both the rural and the urban people all get excited about this new religion. And so for the very
Ooh,
first
16,
time
that's a lot of
religious
damage.
is being established in the settlement, you get both of those population groups flocking to your banner.
So the conversion
just
mechanics are
with
slightly
one
different from what we've seen before.
charge.
Very cool.
But it's similar enough.
Carl, you found something very interesting here.
I did. It looks like I've discovered some treasure resources. So here we have sugar,
Sugar.
which creates treasure fleets when connected to a coastal settlement, and cocoa, which does the same thing. So here we have, looks like 4. This is dyes, which is happiness.
So that's just a regular,
that's
but
not a treasure
okay.
resource. So
2
4
luxuries.
treasure resources right here. So if we settle
Like right
something up
between
here,
those 2 sugars.
like
on
right
the
here,
same
we can start setting those up. What
Yeah,
what would
rough
it
seas
take
damage must
other
roll
than the
randomly,
settlement
yeah.
for me to
Yeah,
get
I
those
didn't see the
connected?
18.
It talks about connecting them.
So the basic requirement is you have to put down some type of naval building, and the first naval building we have is the fishing key. And the cool
Go
thing
on, yeah,
about
go, bro,
your
go
fishing
on.
key
Be
placement
brave.
is we use that to sort of pick the spot where treasure fleets, once you start generating them, are going to come into play.
There's cartography. Now the
And so
settler
that's
can go.
a nice, you get to sort of make a tactical decision. Where do I want my very, susceptible to enemy capture type of units to be spawned? Maybe I want it in some protected harbor. Maybe I want it as close to my homeland as I possibly can. So we'll make a decision when we get that settlement up and going as to exactly where we're going to put the fishing key.
Alright,
Which
that
we just
cog
got
looks like it's
access
gonna
to
die
cartography,
quickly.
So now our settler can enter deep ocean. However, it still is locked to the same movement rules as our naval unit, so it can only move 1 tile at a time in deep ocean.
It's going to take damage.
And it will take damage at the end of the turn, so we have to be cautious moving across
Settlers
here.
are going to take
Now
damage
you have
too.
2 great places to go. Do you
I've got
go
2.
to
Yeah.
there, or do you go up
Maybe
for the
right
treasure
here
resources?
and maybe
I was gonna say, you gotta settle the natural wonder, surely.
I think maybe we put
Yeah.
here first and start getting
Right,
sort of a
the
naval
the
base set up.
12 culture per turn
Is
from those
very,
Pretty
settlements
good.
is
Yeah.
so good.
Yeah, I mean, come
so
on,
maybe we
come on,
start
that's
up
so
like
good.
The other-
naval base here to protect the rest of these locations.
The other important reason to do that is I'm lusting over these 4 treasure resources sitting there. That's just a fabulous sight. Especially, normally you'll find that when you get over
So you
the
can see
distant
cartography
lands,
too
it's
is
a very
open, which is
lucky
the
map
mastery to
generation
the
get
tech.
that right
Come on,
there in
show
the
us the
islands,
tree.
not
Show
that
us the
far off
tree.
coast. But we do have to remember we have to proceed all the way to shipbuilding before treasure fleets are going to unlock.
Okay.
And we might want to pop up the tech tree and just show people how deep shipbuilding is in here.
Yep, show us.
So it's
There we go.
It's in the
Tech
3rd
tree,
tier.
scene.
We're going to have to.
So shipbuilding is
finish
on the
astronomy,
3rd layer.
finish machinery, get heraldry, get feudalism.
Naval
ignore
units
all
can
the temptations
safely
from
travel across deep
masteries
ocean
along the
without
way,
taking damage.
And then we can finally get to shipbuilding. It's going to take us a while to get there. So we've got time to get a settler up and going and get that treasure generating island town.
And you've got to master it to get land units
I
to
see
go through.
castles and heraldry and feudalism on here as well. So it seems like right now we're sort of in sort of a medieval period, not necessarily height of the Age of Sail kind of thing, and that's more towards the end of the tech tree here.
Yeah, so this is kind of
but
like
I think it's
medieval
important
into
to
late
note that,
Renaissance.
Not all civilizations discovered
Gunpowder. Gunpowder is
distant
in
lands
this.
at the same pace, right? You had oceanic civilizations in the Pacific that were discovering lands far earlier. You had Scandinavians that were discovering North America long before Christopher Columbus ever sailed.
Feudalism
So,
is a tech.
Even though it's
Huh.
perhaps a medieval period, it's not necessarily just your
I love the fact
standard
that you're calling this
European.
out. We've met Confucius. Confucius is leading the Ming Empire. Ming was an absolute rock solid. We had to have them in exploration, civ, because of Zheng He, the admiral from the Ming, who actually created treasure fleets hundreds of years before the Spanish did, and sailed in, I think, starting in the 1420s.
Yeah, this is where we were
and started
talking about
sending fleets
exploration
out
not really
across
being
the Indian
fixed on
Ocean.
date.
The
It's more of a
treasure fleets that
Ooh.
the Ming dynasty had are amazing, and they're
Ooh.
like 4 or 5
Relic.
times the size
Plus 1
of
production on
any
specialists. That's
Western,
big.
galleon or anything like that. Just enormous vessels. And what's cool about the game is, just like with a lot of our units,
That's
we
so
have
good.
culturally unique variants to them. So you'll see the treasure fleet unit looks very different in the game if you're playing as the Ming Empire than if you're playing as Spain.
Very cool.
And so just make sure you know what those look like, because when you're playing in multiplayer and you're trying to capture treasure fleets from anybody
That's huge.
else,
plus
you
1
know,
is
yeah.
huge.
Right. So
want
it
to
looks
find them.
it looks like we have a cool narrative moment.
Very cool
coming
narrative
up.
moment. Yeah, I definitely want to talk about this. So what I just did is I selected to build a temple in our new capital of Madrid, so we can get some religion up and going there. And In doing so, I selected to overbuild the altar, which is the religious
So
building. From Antiquity. I
overbuilding
felt like
triggered
that
a
was pretty
narrative
appropriate
event.
replacement.
Very cool.
And we get a narrative event for selecting to overbuild our altar here. So workers have stopped to gather and stare within the recesses of a hollowed-out altar. The team has unearthed a once-forgotten golden relic. So this is because I am overbuilding explicitly, and it offers some really interesting choices here. So if we construct a reliquary to keep the relic, we get a relic. And that goes towards our culture victory without us having to do anything religious to get it.
It's just like one of your 12
Or
immediately.
we can melt the relic into coins to fund
That's
the
powerful.
construction and get +1 production on
That's
specialists.
powerful.
And this is a permanent bonus
Amazingly good.
every specialist for the rest of the
I've
age.
never even seen this
It's
narrative event.
so strong.
That is very powerful.
But both of these are really, really good for different victories. So this is really good
Burn
for
it
the culture
down.
victory.
Burn
This,
it
if
down.
we were talking about
Melt
needing
it.
specialists and
It's
high
not holy.
yields in order to get the science victory. This would go a long way for that. What do you think? What should we pick here? Do we want culture or science?
Science.
I didn't get this when I played through here.
Yeah,
so I
pretty
haven't
cool.
had to make this
You didn't-
decision.
That's
Decisions,
because you didn't select to overbuild your
No,
altar with the
I
temple.
overbuilt
But
somewhere.
even if you do that, it's not. I don't think this is a guaranteed thing.
Right.
It changes each
the
time.
way our narrative system works is stories get loaded into the game, sort of a random generation process. So you'll encounter them in some playthroughs. You won't
Yeah.
encounter them. in
So this is
others.
going to be very
There are
random. This
some
is kind of
hidden
like
triggers
another
to,
version of a tribal
you know,
hub. Think about it like
was,
this. There's stuff you
an
can do to
exact
trigger them,
requirement. You had to
but they're
overbuild
random.
a temple to get this story, so you may not hit those. So we've
Big
We've
numbers.
loaded this
Big
game
numbers.
with several thousand stories like this.
There's so many. There's so many.
The narrative team has been working endless hours to get
There are
all
a
these
lot.
stories, and lots of them are unique. We'll get to conquistadors later in the game.
They have some
Conquistadors
stories.
have unique stories just related to them.
You
But here's
basically
one
need
that
to just
any
play
player
the
can get if
game
they happen
in
to
every way
overbuild
you
an
can.
altar, in the
Because there's
exploration.
thousands of these events.
You know,
It's
if it
very
happens
cool.
to be rolled into the collection of stories that's available in this particular playthrough.
So we want to go ahead.
It's a tough choice.
It is a tough choice. Do you want to go ahead and pick the relic, and then we'll take a look at what
let's
the
do
relic
that for now.
looks
I
like?
think-
God, that
that's,
progresses the stream.
gonna be
I don't think
more
that's the right choice,
immediate.
but it
So we'll
pushes the
Pick
stream
that, and
forward.
relics do have yields, so we'll go ahead and take a look at that relic we just got. We got one somewhere else. I think maybe from. Did we convert something? I don't know. We got it from
I think
something.
there is one on.
They don't know.
Oh, is it from a Civic?
Yeah.
Okay, we may have gotten it from a Civic.
There's
You just get
from
one on the
Piety.
Civic. They
It's
don't
from
know.
Piety. So when you unlock the Piety Civic, you get a relic immediately. We can see these provide 2 culture and 2 happiness.
2 culture and 2 happiness is not worth the +1
just
production.
Like with codices in Antiquity, this applies only when they're
This is so
slotted.
weak.
So right now they're not giving us anything, but we can put these into the palace, and then the temple has 1 slot, and so we are able to start getting those yields once we equip them.
That
So go
doesn't
ahead and
seem
put
very good.
each of these into a great work slot here.
Right.
A perfect amount of relics for a perfect amount of slots.
Indeed. And once we have the temple up in Madrid, we'll have another slot available too. And there are ways to increase the number of slots that you get.
Yeah.
So
So I
speaking of
think
relics
I remember
and
seeing
religion,
the
we did have
religion had a way of
question from
improving
chat
these as
from
well.
Unknown
So there will be more
Robot,
bonuses,
who
but
asks, do you keep your pantheon in the following ages?
Unfortunately, you do not.
Pantheon disappears.
I don't know that we're talking about how religion carries forward beyond
I think we can
this.
say that there are echoes of religion in the modern age.
There you go.
So
That's a good way of putting it.
yes.
Modern age live stream to come.
Yes.
But for your pantheon from Antiquity, those bonuses go away as they
So
are
the pantheon
replaced by
disappears,
the organized religions that are being.
but religion does go to
really
modern
emphasized
in
and spread
some
during this period
way.
of history. Not that they necessarily religions weren't founded earlier than this, but this is when they were really spread globally to across either your own civilization or other civilizations in particular, and brought to distant lands.
So let's keep discovering more of this distant land.
Yeah.
if we can.
Sarah's
Yeah, we'll
like,
get this
come on,
settler down
keep pushing it
and
forward. Keep going.
See what that does.
Keep playing.
We want to get this.
yeah, I want to unlock those yields there.
Oh, this
We've
one's
got
dying.
I want to.
This one's not getting anywhere.
We have uncovered someone's
Confucius.
armor. There's,
Somebody's here.
There's the eastern edge of the Ming Empire.
I'm being real risky with this guy, though. He's taken a lot of damage sailing across.
Do
I
you
didn't
wanna-
stop to heal.
Do you want to try to see if he'll give us open borders so you can come into his port?
Well, I think we'll sail
Safe.
straight here because this is still 2 tiles, and if I go
Okay.
here, there might be some shallow water that way.
Oh, risky,
let's
babe.
sail
Go on,
down.
heal. No! He's so risky. I love it.
We've got somebody asking, how do distant lands work with different map types?
That's a great
Okay,
question.
yeah, that's
Different
a
map
really
tabs.
fun question. So there's a lot of details there. I'm not going to try to go through all of them, but depending upon which map type you select, either the distant lands is going to be sort of a carbon copy of your homeland area, or it's going to be entirely different. So in this particular case, the Terra Incognita map was selected, which gives a nice large continent to begin with, and the distant lands are highly variable and very different than your homeland. We have other types where it's called Continents Plus, where it'll look like this, and you know that the distant land area is also going to look similar.
Okay.
We have an archipelago map type, where your homeland is a bunch of islands. Sort of think of Indonesia.
So the maps do change both
and
home and
the distant
distant.
lands is also
Okay.
a bunch of islands. So everyone's playing on sort of the same type of playing field, but it's very, very different than what we're seeing here in this
I
game.
love that map type.
There's
And
also like a shuffle map where you're not sure what your homeland's going to
Right.
be, and so.
So there is a
Basically,
base map where you
we-
start an
we'll
archipelago.
tell you by the map type
Interesting.
what you're going to start with, and some map types
That
you can be
is a
guaranteed
development.
That the distant lands will look
That
very
is a
similar, and
development.
some ones they will not.
Right.
Now these islands that we're exploring in the middle, those don't appear in every map type as well. So for instance, we have Continents Plus, which is what we're playing right now. Those always do have offshore islands in them, but there's also a continents map where there's just a wider swath of ocean to get across, no islands
so
to help
close.
you out. It's going to be close enough you can make it, but kind of the support that we're getting from these islands in the middle is kind of missing on those map types.
right.
So here we have a discovery out here in the middle of the ocean.
Ooh,
so we'll try
coastal
to pick
discovery.
that up next turn.
And speaking of islands too, we have somebody asking how island cities work as well. So it's a little bit more.
So
of a
I mean,
tight
yeah. So we
space
just
to
go to
settle
map
there.
types
It
quickly.
depends.
So yeah, you
So the
have
islands
different
we're
maps
looking
that
at
change
here
your
are
homelands
very
and
tight.
also the
We
coastal
do not
lands,
have a
also
lot
the
of
new
land
discovery
to put
lands in
down
different
your
ways. So there's lots of
districts,
different
but,
types.
some of them will have a lot more. So this island being a good example, you can't build on top of resources, but if these resources weren't here, there would be a good number of tiles for us to build on.
And it might be a good excuse for a town, right, instead of a city, and kind of
Right.
focus that in.
And
Yes.
then it also
Sorry, I'm just saying if I can up the quality a little bit. I
So
might have.
that's-
There you go.
people are like, oh, I don't necessarily like coastal cities, and those coastal buildings aren't that useful. Out on the islands, all those coastal buildings, like
I think
the
their
wharfs
streaming
and the
isn't
other
quite
things
at
that
full
we're gonna be launching
capacity.
in this age become incredibly valuable. So you'll want to have remember that an urban district
Toledo,
isn't always on
with
land.
the religion.
Urban districts can be on water. Any
That's
build,
2
any
points.
district, basically any tile that has a building in it is considered urban.
Right.
Yeah, they all have to connect back to the city center. So you
Go
have
on,
to
go
figure
left.
out a way
And now he's going to work
engineer
that
it so
12
that
culture
everything
tile.
connects back. But
Bam.
I love the buildings going out on water because they let you do things
That's
like
big.
extend your
That's
city
big.
across a navigable river to the other side, across a lake. We
Oh,
have
do you
this
see
really
that?
cool example in our capital city
That resource
of,
actually applied more to
the
distant land
navigable
cities.
river inlet
Interesting.
here. If we had settled like right on the end of that peninsula, we could have used a water building to get south and
To build
that,
across.
That would have
Which
been a
I've
great
done up
place
here.
for a science.
I've done up here with
three
Athens, and I've
resources
built
next to it.
across.
Yeah, so that's how we have North Athens.
There's kind of
across the river
bridges
there.
in a weird way.
And I don't know if we've talked about this a lot, but we have bridges as buildings in the game. And bridges can go down on navigable rivers, and they're a great
Gain a
way to
boost
get
to a
your city
civic.
across to the other side of the navigable
Or
river.
200
We have
gold.
like another narrative event here with this.
We do. So this is a discovery that I've unlocked. So we can.
Gold is
unemployed
really
sailors
important in this
cluster
game, by the way.
around
There's a
the
lot
docks
of different
the port.
options
There
to
are
use
too
gold.
few ships,
It's
too
way
little
more
work,
important
too
than in
much
previous
time.
games.
So I can choose to expand the port by spending 2 turns of gold, which is 220 gold, to get a boost to civic, which could be really good.
So the more gold you have
or
in
I
that
can get
instance,
200
the
gold.
worse
So
that
either I'm spending
outcome
200
is.
gold
That's
to get
hilarious.
culture, or I'm gaining
Costs you
200 gold.
400 gold to get for a civic boost, basically.
Just 200. 240.
But you're losing the 200. from
Oh,
the
but
other
I'm losing
choice.
this. I see what you're saying.
The opportunity
Yeah, the
cost.
opportunity
Yes.
cost.
400 gold
I
switch,
think,
yeah.
I think we'll go for the civic boost. Honestly, we've
I
got
know.
tons of gold available.
Gotta
It's
spend that gold.
expensive, but
Well, I actually have plans for that gold. So
and what did we get boosted? We got.
I think we have to
notification.
advance the turn to get the
No,
boost.
I think the notification.
Oh, it's right here. You're right. Civics have been boosted. It didn't actually
Oh, it
tell us.
did.
Let's look at the
Oh, here we go.
So it was not.
So this is the Spanish
one.
civ, and that is the exploration civ.
It was economics. Look at this, like 2 turns. Is that?
No, we were already there.
I think it might happen the next
I think it's
turn.
inspiration
Yeah,
because
okay.
it got.
So, anyways,
Reduced
let's
there.
look at our.
Okay,
unique
we saw
Spanish
that, though.
civics
That's
while
cool.
We had that up, and we're
Sure.
talking civics. So we're talking about how every civ has a
These are the Spanish ones.
unique civic tree. You've created a bunch of these. Why don't you talk about how you kind of came up with the,
This unlocks the wonder early. So every civ has a wonder, and you get it early
Well, that
through
was
your
a,
civic
that was
tree.
an ongoing process. Trial and error, figuring out what worked, what didn't work, what looked good, what felt good. The goal here is to have an interesting and engaging tree of approximately 3 to 4 civics.
Settlement limit.
Mastery's optional for every single civilization, and this is where a lot of your unique content unlocks. Not
Spain
your
only gets
unique
one
military
settlement
unit,
limit.
those still come
Interesting.
from the tech tree, because those
I would have thought they would have got 2.
typically replacements for other units. But this is where you get your traditions, your unique buildings, or tile improvements, and you can get access to your wonder. You can get it the normal way through techs or civics, but you can also get it faster
typically
here.
a faster way.
Typically.
And we had the question before about movement bonuses. I think if you look under Armada, we can see some bonuses. The flotilla promotion lets you pack more units into the
All land
Armada,
units receive 2
and then there's a
movement when
mastery
embarked.
here
That's
that
okay.
lets,
Spain is
land
very
units
quick at
moving
sea.
across
Very
established
quick at sea.
settlements over, across the ocean, so
Right.
we're going to get more movement when embarked.
And this changes for every single civilization. So
Yeah, so
many
the
of them
Roman
have
one
this
was really
format
cool.
Where it's sort of like
Roman one was really
into
cool.
2 others. Some of them are 3 or 4 in a straight line. Some of them are much taller, and so it branches out into a
not
big
all of them
stack.
have masteries
Not
like
all
this
of them
one.
have masteries. The more culture a civ has, typically the more masteries or civics it has to unlock.
Interesting.
Not every
So
case,
some
but that
culture
is sort of a
civics,
standard
the
rule.
civs
But,
have more culture
the
civics to
order
unlock.
of
Interesting.
how you unlock things here is definitely a part of every civ's
Yeah,
balance.
piracy
and how quickly
Spain,
you can access some of
absolutely.
their more powerful things are part of that.
And that's something to keep in mind. I think people are getting a sense of this when they look at our Civ guides that are going up on the website. But one reason we're doing Civ guides is Civs are really deep now. They have
Yeah,
a lot
they're
of
really
things going on
complicated.
with them. And you might look at the initial description of what's this Civ's ability, and it's a quick little one-line thing. For Spain, for instance, you want to bring up the Spanish ability so people can see what that looks like?
Sorry.
Yeah, and I think we might even want to
We
jump
can
ahead
see-
a little
see
bit
that-
too.
We can, yeah. I'm going to do one more thing before we do here.
The
Sarah's
Siglo
like,
de
push it
Oro
forward,
is the,
push it forward.
Spanish ability, so they get cheaper conversions from towns to cities, especially if they're trying to create cities.
We'll see how powerful that is. I'm not sure cities are all everything you'd want.
But that's just a really small bit
Yes.
of the full abilities that Spain unlocks once they get through their whole unique culture tree.
There's a lot more to each one of these.
Yeah.
So the last thing that I want to do here is we have Toledo, which I believe in our later save that we're about to jump to got a different name. I think
It's
it's Barcelona.
Yeah.
And that's just our random city name.
I love the
system,
fact
but,
they went to try and settle
what
it
I'm
in the
gonna
same
do
place.
Here is go ahead and start spending some of our gold. So when you first settle a town, you will get a growth event. Do we have one up? No, it has to. Oh, we did. I selected right here.
Yeah.
I already did the growth event. So that allowed us to expand out.
So
that's why they're getting a
to
lot
pick
of
up
culture
the
from this
fishing
city.
boats on the pearls. We were able to assign that to our capital. That gave us access to this, so we can start expanding into Thera on the next turn. The more growth events you have immediately, the more you would be able to jump out and grab tiles or grab resources. We could pick up this fish immediately. But we can also buy things here right away. So we cannot buy settler. You see there's no settler on this list, and that's because you have to have 5 population.
5 pop for a
Buildings
settler.
do add a population though. So if we buy
Interesting.
some of these buildings, we'll start to increase that population and maybe get the ability to buy settlers. And then rather than having to sail them all the way across, we can launch
Yeah.
them from this.
So this is a
Also,
tactic
you
we use in
can
Civ 6. You
choose
make a
these
new
buildings
trading
to
port,
expand
and then you
towards
bring
the
Magnus
walls
over
that
and you
are
make
here
settlers
and
from
pick
it.
up the
Absolutely,
fields
this is a
even
good
faster.
tactic.
We can get food buildings that are going to give us growth events more rapidly.
That's just instantly buys that.
So there's lots of cool strategies you can take.
Absolutely.
With the,
And I think when we do load into that second save, we'll be able to see some of the effects of this building on this town too.
Yep.
So now
Sarah's
I've
like,
put
go,
down the
go,
temple.
go,
We could do
go.
missionary if we wanted to.
because we have the belief where we get to
Right. It
Oh,
also,
you're using
acquired
gold
the-
for
immediately,
religious
get
units.
our
Gold for religious
in the
units.
distant land settlement that we have created.
So we started to establish ourselves out here, and I think we can go ahead and jump forward, and then we'll see.
And did you see
what it
that?
looks
We're
like
gonna
once
Buying
jump,
the
I think
buildings
it's close
actually
to 50
increased the
turns
population
later,
of the
and
city.
you will see the
So that's
Spanish
actually a full
colonial
population
empire
city
up
now. So you gave
in
yourself
their full
population by
glory.
putting
We
buildings
are
down.
returning treasure very soon.
Yes.
So the townspeople of our capital in Madrid are going to be cheering when they see those treasure fleets
Yeah.
come home.
To go back right now to your previous
had
point,
a little bit of trouble
most
with
civs
Confucius,
have
though,
between
because
0
you'll
and 2
see that we
bonus
settled
settlements. So
all
some
the way
civs have
over
2,
on the distant
some civs have
lands
0. It
continent,
looks like Spain is a plus
very
1.
next to
I just
the
expected them to be
capital
plus
city
2 because they
of his
roll about
empire
in new
that we were
lands,
just
that's all.
starting to see the edge of there. And so we're not nearly as happy with Confucius.
Oh,
I mean, we had an
almost
initial
saw something
friendly
there.
greeting there. Carl spent some influence to get a friendly greeting with them, but
And how the years have soured our
yes,
relationship.
exactly.
Also, as we're kind of loading in, I just want to take a minute to shout out some very cool things coming to Civ 7. Let's talk about cross save. That's new, right?
Yep.
Which is extremely exciting.
Cross save.
We also have cross play, which is new, and really want to shout out too that Civ 7 is coming day and date to PC and console for the first time ever for a Civ game, which is a huge development.
Cross-play,
It took us
cross-save.
quite a while to get Civ 6 out to all
Interesting.
the platforms it's on today. We keep wanting to emphasize that all those players that started in with the Civ franchise on a PlayStation, on an Xbox, on the Switch, we feel like they're part of our family now. We don't want to forget any of those. When Civ 7
Cross-save is very cool.
launches in February, and we're also excited about that. We want everyone to be able to enjoy that excitement. So there's a lot that we're doing to make all the platforms, home base for any of our Civ players.
Yeah.
Let you play with other people who might be on different platforms. So we have more to talk about that, but the cross-play and the saves being compatible across the different platforms is a huge part of that. That's sort of the first big announcement for that.
Yeah, that's awesome. All right, so let's hop back in here. I think we've jumped ahead.
Oh,
a little
that
bit.
new land's
What's
huge.
changed?
We're about to turn
It's
50
huge.
here. We've explored a lot more. So if we just sort of pan our map, we can see here's Barcelona.
This is
which we were
50
talking about
turns in, by the
previously.
way.
We have these glorious.
And there's a 6th leader there.
Yields here, 12 culture, 6 happiness. We've settled our treasure fleet location, and we've settled another one over here. This is sort of a beautiful bay that you
Interesting.
discovered.
Yeah, so I sailed up to this bay. I felt like I was Captain John Smith discovering the Chesapeake.
That's
back in the
really
day,
cool. Do you see
'cause I
how
was
far
just
you can
seeing
sail into
treasure
that landmass?
resources
That's
left
awesome.
and right. There's chocolate on one side of the bay. There's sugar on the other side of it. There's a little navigable river connection into an even deeper bay,
Right here.
where there's even more chocolate and sugar.
Which there's another thing to consider here, because just like in Civ 6, city centers count as canals. So if we were to have settled right here, this would go both directions, and you'd be able to sail around like that.
I may have played this game further, and I may have settled a city right to the northwest of that next chocolate down the bay.
Oh,
Go towards.
Just a bit, yes. Okay,
Venus
so
capital
city
here.
centers count
I
as
see.
canals.
over here.
Yeah, and so there's if you put a right
That-
there.
that- yeah,
I
I was gonna
see.
say,
So I
that's
actually
canal.
sail right up to her capital.
You could
That's
change that.
amazing.
Well,
Oh, I
this is
love
too
that.
close,
I
but
love
yeah,
that.
There's some interesting things you could do here.
So this is the Terra Incognita
Confucius
map.
is
We're starting to
Confurious,
see
yeah,
what
it's
that
true.
looks like. I said that there is a random setting where it's lots of bays and inlets and little lakes. We happen to roll that one here.
Yeah.
Look at all
It's
these lakes.
making
Lots
for
of lakes.
Really interesting gameplay.
If we were to ever have a lake civilization, this would be a great map for them.
I also want to point out, I see a couple of independent powers. We've had a few questions come
Yes.
in about independent powers.
This is
How
Damascus.
this kind of work through the ages.
Zhanjing.
And so it's super important that you go through that, because we
Vilnius?
unlocked another belief in these 50 turns. We got our reliquary belief. We want to go up to our religion screen. and
Okay,
scroll down
reliquary
and
belief.
see that we have the reliquary belief icons. So
Two relics
beliefs
for the first
are
time conversion of a
special
city-state.
choice that you make
Oh.
that gives your religion
That's
a
fun.
unique way of creating relics that no one else has. And we decided,
Hey, Nano.
because
Hey, how
we
you
were pushing
doing?
out over the distant lands, and because there are 4 major powers, more major civilizations in the homelands, only 2 in the distant lands, we were going to be out in the distant lands, and there's just more space for independent powers to be over there. I was thinking, we're going to see a lot of independent powers. I have some special traditions from playing as Greece that allow.
I was going to say, the Greece start for independent powers is strong. I think that is strong.
And so that
Yeah, they're hinting at
picking up relics
Aztec.
and
I'm pretty
converting
sure
them to
they've
our
hinted at
religion
Aztec a
would be
few
great way to
times
go.
now.
And they
I'm
changed
convinced.
a bit too, the independent powers from Antiquity to Exploration as well, right?
So the ones that were there on the map before are no longer there. They're
Right.
brand new independent powers, brand new abilities that you get from befriending them and becoming suzerain of them. And the names are all
224
changed,
cultures,
age
good, but
appropriate. So yeah,
look
it's a whole
at
fresh set.
Having that influence is a pretty...
Now,
Who would that be?
Carl is showing you something really pretty here.
Yeah,
Let's
this
go
is
through
the
One of the AIs has
Spain,
300.
unique
That's
quarter.
crazy.
We place both of our unique buildings into this
It's a
tile
plaza.
here, and it creates the plaza, which is their unique quarter. So yeah, it's really pretty here.
It doesn't say that it's a plaza, though. I wish it would say that. I mean, yeah, it does look pretty.
It's beautiful.
It's picking up 13 yields now, but we just need to drop some specialists on it, and it could be one of the tiles that we push towards 40, 40
Absolutely,
yields
I
on.
think so. Yeah.
Yeah, the plaza,
So I
the
know
unique
people have been
quarter
dying
will
to
absolutely
see
be a really good
big
thing
part
to
of
stack.
Exploration, right?
Ah,
which
pet
is
ship,
that
sorry,
naval battle, the naval combat.
So we've done a lot of work to try to make naval gameplay much more important in Civilization 7.
Navies
and a
are going
big
to be
part of that
essential.
is
You can't
the
ignore
exploration
them
age.
now.
So we've already
Absolutely
talked about
essential.
the economic legacy path and how you're able to
Sorry,
capture
guys.
other people's treasure fleets and capture their victory points from them. So it's very important for you to have a navy to defend yourself. It's very important for you to have a navy to try to stop other players from winning that and to capture their points and accelerate yourself. So out here in Barcelona, we have gone ahead and built ourselves a little bit of a navy to try to protect the treasure fleets that we're going to get from our settlement here and across on that sort of bay that you've discovered.
Lots and lots of navy
a big
needed.
Part of this is our new commander unit from Exploration, the Fleet Commander. So there is we still have army commanders. We have one right here. This one is actually
So this is basically
ready to
the
pack
great
up a couple
admiral of the
units,
game. That's
perhaps.
what we'd theorized.
But we have a fleet commander that is ready to pack up all of our naval units and start moving them across. And it has its own set of promotions as well that we'll take another look at when we start combat.
Before you pack him
Yep.
up, we need to augment these commanders.
Yes.
And we have the plaza that Carl was showing us back in our homeland. As soon as you have a unique quarter finished, it works the same way as the mechanic does for Greece. That city is then allowed to build the great people that are unique to your civilization. So we've been building conquistadors since that plaza was online and sailed some of them west to Barcelona.
Okay,
And we
so
have
Spain,
Ferdinand
yeah, the
Magellan
conquistador, you have to
as
build the
first
special
of the
quarter to
conquistadors.
actually
Carl,
get
you
them
wanna
out.
show us what
Interesting.
his ability is?
So Magellan can be activated in distant lands on a fleet commander to give it +2 movement and +2 sight. So we have to move this guy over
pretty
to our commander
good.
here. We can see that the commander currently only has 3 movement. And if we select Magellan, we are now able to activate that.
And the question had come in about how do you get more movement?
And
5
one of
movement,
those
okay,
has gone
right.
up
So
to
this
3
is
out
one of the
5. This will
unique
refresh to
people.
5 out of 5 next turn, but because the turn's already started, he's missing that initial movement. And we'll go ahead and pack up our naval units here.
I think there are 3 carracks.
And
Wow.
look at that beautiful
Look at that
fleet.
armada.
And we'll start. I think that
Oh.
he still has his 3 movement. The other units that he packed, their unit or their
That is
movement has
amazing.
gone
They're
away,
so
but
big,
the
those
commander
units.
still
They're
has
so
their movement.
hilariously
And now the
big.
commander's really driving this fleet forward.
They were crashing into each other.
Yep.
Don't worry about that. Don't worry about
And
it.
similarly, we have a conquistador who's over with that army commander. So this is Miguel Legazpi, who was the conquistador who conquered the Philippines for Spain late
Yep.
towards the end of the 16th
2
century.
ranged units and an infantry
And
unit, just like
his
that.
ability
Wow.
lets him sort of basically get an instant.
That's a lot of
army
3
back
units.
on up,
Spain has got
ready
some
to go
aggressive
after a distant
stacking
land.
going
Well,
on.
actually, if we want to
Blimey.
use them,
Well, that's
but
powerful.
yes.
Very. So we'll go ahead and fill this up. We get 2 range units and 1 infantry unit.
Oh, the
And
British
now
are
if we
very
select this
impressed by
army
Spanish
commander, we
armadas.
can
We're
see
very
those units
impressed.
are in
We
there,
have to be, so
and
that
we
we're
will
really pleased when we
embark
destroy
the army
them.
commander to
It's
follow
essential
our
to be
fleet so
impressed,
we can
otherwise you don't
launch
get to
an amphibious
boast about it.
invasion.
And we have a missionary there because we can see that we're getting pressure from other AI religions.
I know, look at that.
Barcelona has flipped. I think, is that Confucius who's established
Probably.
Buddhism
Confucius.
there? So we have one missionary who's defending our faith in Barcelona. Remember, for those non-sufficient orbis points, distant land settlements like Barcelona are going to score us double points if we can keep them converted to our religion, so it's very important for us to do that. There's also a missionary to the northwest of the main
So
fleet.
spreading religion
that's
is
headed
really
up
important.
to our new city-state ally of Damascus, because if we can convert Damascus to our cause,
We'll get those 2 relics.
we'll get those 2 relics, and that would be certainly nice.
That was a little bit of a visual bug there. Did you
I do
see
have
he
a
was
quick
two
question from
tiles away from where he
Dale.
should have
Are your
been?
home continent resources counted as treasure resources for people from distant lands?
That's a really good question. It's not true currently, but we're looking into potential ways to make something like that work.
That is such a good question. That
So we had
is
another
such a
narrative
good
event,
question.
which we
We did, yeah. That one
Oh,
was
that's a
choice
really
between
difficult
science or
one. How do you
culture.
make
Went
it so
ahead
that
and
the
picked
cross
science. We're gonna
continents
tech up a little bit
interact with
here.
each other? I love
And
it.
speaking of science, we have finished shipbuilding, so that makes a bunch of changes. First of all, we've been going right across those deep water tiles. If people notice, we're no longer stopping on each one of
Yep.
those.
Yeah, yeah.
The
Things good cheap.
other thing it does is it allows us to start generating treasure fleets. But treasure fleets take a little bit of time. They don't pop out immediately. But we can go to our resource screen and we can check to see the progress of treasure fleet generation in our settlements. We will see that our 2 distant land settlements
Ooh.
are either 1 turn away from a treasure fleet or 5 turns
Okay,
away.
so these are the ones that need to be
And
protected
one of them's
back.
going to be worth 4 treasure fleet points, and the other one's going to be worth 3.
So the more
we
resources
will
you
see a
have,
treasure fleet
the more
very soon.
points you get when they go
Very
back.
pretty.
Like it.
Selena Gomez TFT asks, are treasure fleets automated or do you have to manage them?
So it is automated that they are created every X turns. You don't have to like queue them up in the
Okay, so they just
production
appear.
queue or anything like that. That part's automated. But once they get on the map, they do not work like trade ships or caravans where they just sort of automatically path. It's too important to the gameplay of this age, especially in sort of a multiplayer situation, that you can, carefully decide when you have the other fleets around to protect them, when the
So you
enemy's
move them
around,
around.
when it's
So
not
you
around.
basically
So
control them.
you
Fine.
control
That's
their
good.
movement entirely.
That's what we want to see.
And then when they get home, there's a special unit action on them to unload cargo, and that's when the points get cashed in.
Nice. So we're trying to turn our city back
Yep.
to Catholicism here.
All right, so
This
we do
looks like a
have-
war fleet to me,
Wow,
if you
so,
ask me.
Confucius has sailed up here. I think he might be moving on our treasure
Oh,
fleet that
no.
will spawn in 1 turn.
How did he know it was about to appear?
Well, he's just timing it out, I guess.
Sounds like
so
the
we wanna
AI
try
is-
to defend that. So we're going to unpack these.
AI is on it.
And we'll get to start attacking these. We'll
Yeah,
declare war.
yeah, declare war
We'll
first,
declare
yeah.
war. Well, I'm going to unpack first so that I'm not dealing with zone of control,
Yeah.
and then I will declare war.
Yeah, he's done this before.
But before
He's done this
I want
before.
to check in on this fleet commander's promotions to see what it is that we're working with, so we know how that's going to impact what this battle is going to play out.
So these are the
with.
promotions.
So we have 4 promotions on this fleet commander. And we notice immediately that while we still have the 5 trees and the 5 commendations, that these are a little bit shorter trees than the army commander. And that's because you're getting these later in the game. You have had less combat with them. We want you to be able to finish the trees a little bit faster as a result. So
Okay.
there's a
Smaller trees
one less
for naval
promotion on
commanders.
each tree. We do have a random promotion in the middle here. This is
It's not random. It's comes
well,
from.
I mean, it's not from, like, we don't have anything.
Plus 2 unit slots and plus 2 land units can pack into this
promotion
mod.
to
Okay,
unlock
right,
it.
so
This
bigger
is from our
packing.
unique,
Huge
civics
armadas.
As Spain, we get this flotilla promotion, which
comes off the Armada Civic.
exactly. So that gives us 2 additional unit slots for 6 total, and land units can then pack into this commander, which is really cool.
So you can bring
and
land
then on
across
the
with.
bombardment tree, we have shelling,
+3
+3
combat.
strength for naval units when attacking land units. Spotter +1 range attack distance. So that
+1
is
range
really,
on
really
naval.
As
powerful.
long
Yes.
as the naval units are within
That's
the
good.
Within the command, this is all
radius
within
of
the
That's
command
really
radius.
good.
And then we have gunfire support. Naval units within the command radius have the splash ability. Enemy units in the
Splash
tiles
damage in
adjacent to the
Civ
target
7.
take 50% of the total
Amazing.
damage done to the target. This works everywhere. It works on naval units. It works on land units. Anytime you would make an attack with a naval unit with this promotion,
+1
you are
range
doing
with
50% of that
splash.
damage to
Oh my
all
goodness.
enemy units in adjacent tiles.
This is a bit of
It's
me.
very good.
Carl's favorite promotion.
This is a bit
I
of
designed
me.
it, so it should be.
Confucius better watch out.
Yes, indeed. And so this is one of those things we were talking about where we really wanted to make naval gameplay extremely important. If you have a fleet commander and a fleet sitting on one of your cities attacking you with this, it's just going to decimate you.
Yeah.
You have to target it. You have to
This is
defend
what I've said about
yourself,
Civ 6
and
all the
best way to
time.
do that
Navy is
with
better
other
than
naval
land.
units.
It sounds
talk
like this
about
is going to be
commendation
even more
options as
true.
well.
So the
in Civ
commendations are
7.
really
I love
interesting
it.
because these you get from completing a tree. So we've gotten all the way to the bottom. You don't have to have every single promotion in that tree.
Just have to reach that
You have to reach the
bottom level.
bottom. So once you do that, then you get a commendation point that you're able to spend on one of the commendations. These are not tied one-to-one with each tree that they're beneath. You can select any of the commendations, and the one that we've unlocked here is Duty. Gain the heroic assault ability, deal direct damage to a unit in the command radius that has the same domain as the commander. So in this particular case, it's a fleet commander, so it can only attack naval units, and this is direct damage. This is not combat strength. There's no calculation that happens here. It just does an attack that just damages that unit. It's
Okay.
very strong.
Straight bonus damage, sure.
I want to say it's every turn, but it could be there could be a cooldown. Yeah.
And how are
We've played around with that a few times.
Yeah.
How are new commanders?
Sounds like it's
earned?
powerful.
How do you get commanders?
So you can build or purchase commanders. The cost of each commander increases for
So they get more expensive.
based on the number of copies of that you already have. So for each army commander you have, army commanders become more expensive. For each fleet commander you have, fleet commanders become more expensive. And commanders carry over across age transitions. So the army commander that we had as Greece and Antiquity carried with us into
Okay, so
exploration.
you wanna
with
keep
all
them
of the
alive and
promotions
you
we
want
already
them to be
had.
really
So
high.
these promotions will continue to persist, and this fleet commander will go into
Commanders
modern
are gonna be
when
so
we
important.
eventually transition with all of the promotions that it has earned as well, which makes this free one from being Spain particularly powerful.
Yep.
So let's go ahead and
So he's going to unpack his units now.
we're going to select this button, we're going to select this tile, and all of our units unpack here. They do have no movement.
Yep. Unless
there
you've got
is
the
a promotion
promotion.
that lets us do that on the Army Commander, and it is also on the Fleet Commander. I believe it's one of these two. So reinforced hull, naval units within the command radius take half reciprocal damage when flanking. That's not it. Weather gauge, naval units within
That's it.
the
So you can
command
move and then
radius
fire.
can move
Oh, that's
after
powerful.
unpacking. So
That's
this will
powerful.
let those units have their movement as soon as they unpack. I don't have that right now, so I'm not going to declare war because then he'll attack these units before they get a chance to attack.
Yeah,
us.
you want to
Yeah.
attack him.
So we'll go ahead and skip that combat and do it next turn. We're going to sail this guy over.
Keep him nice and safe and
Other
behind.
Army
Under the-
commander that's garrisoning at home does have that promotion, but not this one.
Nice, okay. Good to know.
He's going to go and try and
How many
spread his
relics do we
religion
already
to
have?
city-states.
Let's find out. So before we go,
We only have
okay,
the
so we
two,
only have the
don't
two. Okay. So we have robes and we have the medicine bag.
We need to flex this independent power.
We will get there for sure. We have 113 right now. Have we already started influencing this? We have.
Yes.
So we are befriending.
That's our path to 2 more relics. We'll have to send a missionary now.
Yeah.
We may get to this. We may
Yeah,
not.
Probably
So
not.
this is going pretty slow. We'll go ahead and add another.
But that's our
100.
long-term strategy.
Right,
You
Yes,
need some of
that
those
is a
when you're
long-term
playing
strategy.
So
Civ
this is
as
just
well.
using your influence on citizens. This is why I was saying influence is going to be a really, really powerful
I
resource.
think this is another.
Really powerful.
No, that's just towards purchasing units.
So we'll move through some of these turns, I think, to progress this battle.
Yes. Skip that. We want to keep growing. We want to pick up this cocoa, which will add another point to that treasure fleet, which I think just spawned.
Yes, let's go look
I'm
for
going
the
to
treasure
put this
fleet.
to sleep. I'm going to put this to sleep.
So many units.
We will put this to sleep. All right, we're going to go up here and we're going to check out this treasure fleet. So it is covered with gold all
Look at
over
that.
the decks.
It's gorgeous.
Absolutely laden down. Beautiful ship.
So much
We're gonna
treasure.
select that. It is worth 4 points, and we're going to start sailing it back home. This looks like a pretty direct route.
All it has to do is get within home territorial waters, basically, of a homeland city, and then we can do
Interesting.
the unlimited cargo.
There's
Okay,
a-
so that's a pretty short route,
Hopefully we
actually.
can
That's
make
not
it back.
too
One
dangerous.
more turn to do
I
that.
think
You'd
it's
have to
pretty
leave
safe, yeah.
units specifically to go and take it.
Confucius isn't going to get the jump on the first one.
He might
could
on the
threaten
second.
Our second one that comes from
He
there.
has moved up further. We now have the ability to attack, though. So I'm going to go ahead and declare war. And we are hostile
Declare
with him.
war.
So that means that we can declare a formal war. You can only declare a formal war if you are hostile. Anything higher than that, you cannot. It has to be a surprise war.
I may have denounced him a few times.
You may have denounced him a few times to set this up.
I've just been denouncing him.
The leader that we revealed earlier, Machiavelli, does not have to obey that rule. He can always form a war no matter what. And the
Machiavelli
difference
is
there
a nuisance?
that it causes war support. So if you declare a surprise war, they get additional war support, which will then hurt us. It hurts yields and hurts combat strength. Formal war does not do that.
So
we'll just go ahead
warring
and
has
declare
to be
that.
something you
Carl was
diplomatically
checking
pursue, otherwise you get
balance
big
with
penalties.
Whether he could put in extra war support.
I did want to just go ahead and advance that independent power, try to get more relics. I think that's a little more important. But we could, if we get more, add to war support. Now, let's go ahead and do some attacking.
Now, what's the strategy? Let's select the commander first and look at some of the special attacks that he's got.
So he has, just like the army commander, they have
Coordinated
a
naval
group
attack
that they can do. So coordinated naval attack, order all naval units within the command radius to attack a specified target. All units have +1 combat strength for that attack.
Basically, you can
And then,
concentrated fire.
barrage land target, which is the same thing, but for attacking units on land. We are going to go ahead and do this.
Attack that one
and
before it
have
can get
everything
around.
bombard this ship here.
So now
which
all of the
should-
ships.
I'm not sure that Splash works with this, but
Yeah,
we're about to test
you
it
can
and
do
find out.
separately if you want to.
For science, right here,
So
folks.
Splash should work with this. They don't know if it does.
Did I do it right? No, I
I
didn't.
think you lost your selection there.
Try the other one. What am I doing wrong, Ed?
Well, this is the caveat that Sarah
It's
says.
still
that
in
we can do.
progress.
It's still work in
Progress
progress.
build.
All right, we'll do it individually. Let's do that.
Okay, we won't see that.
I
But
just
never
learned
mind.
something.
Oh, I wonder what is going on. I cannot move my unit here.
I don't think the war is loaded in properly because you can see some of the units have disappeared.
May have the upper hand on us after all.
No kidding.
He's glitched the game. He's glitched. Confucius is beyond the game.
Definitely.
I love
Does
this.
progress
I love
in the
this. This is
turn?
just what happens,
Oh,
alright?
is that? In a
We'll
second.
check that in a second. Oh.
Yeah, force end turn.
Hit the
That's
end
always
key.
the way.
Okay, you just went ahead.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I think maybe trying to click on the ship and then right-clicking on the target.
Yep.
He sailed away.
There.
That'd
Now
be
we're
smart.
moving.
Now he's running.
All right, so we're gonna move here, and we do have. This is our army commander. I need our fleet commander. We do have our increased attack range with this, so we are going to. But these are probably melee at this point, so we're gonna have to just chase after him here.
While we do
Love it.
this, we do have a question from chat. Is there a limit to commander amount?
Not a hard limit, no.
It just gets
but
more and more
because they get
expensive.
more expensive with each one you build.
It gets progressively-
they
it's
do
like
become
settlers.
prohibitively expensive.
And,
Right.
and remember to give them most of their power comes from the promotions. The promotions is always earned from combat experience. They can both pick up, like if you're fighting around a town and you have 2 or 3 commanders there, they will each get a share of the
So
experience.
that might
that's
have given a
earned.
relic.
But it's often hard to get 3 commanders all promoted at the same time. Sometimes just having one around is a more efficient way to get them up to those higher levels. so-
Right.
There you go.
So we did
2
just get our
relics.
2 new relics from
Excellent.
converting.
I
that,
think
so
they're the
those were
same
immediately
pictures, aren't
slotted
they?
in.
Love it.
Okay.
That's nice. So if they'll automatically slot if you have the slot available.
Yeah.
Yes.
They are generated at that city state, and then the game looks for the.
Okay, so it's like Civ 6. They just get
Closest
put in
Right.
immediately.
Just
Fine.
automatically puts them in there.
So we made our treasure fleet home, and now all it has to be is within our borders here on the coast.
It's right next to the Colossus.
And
It's very appropriate.
We are going to
blam.
unload cargo, scores treasure fleet points, awards gold, and removes the unit from the game. Let's go ahead and let's check this real quick. We'll see how many points we get.
We are nowhere on the path.
Here we go. This
But,
is what I
but
wanted.
notice
Oh, the
that
AI is doing
Ashoka
it though.
already has scored some treasure fleet points. So
Look
he's
how many
already
relic-
progressing here, probably on the other
Look how
side
many
of the
relics
continent.
they've
He's
got.
sailing around the other way.
remember he was on the eastern edge of Arcana.
Yeah.
He's probably going to whatever ocean is east
Oh
of
wow,
us.
the AI is going
And
so much
Phantom Islands
faster.
or
I love
maybe
that.
the other side of the
But
main
Booze's
empire
wifey is
or,
winning, it's
the
true.
empire that Amina has over on that continent.
Yeah, and is definitely already scoring points.
How much
ahead of
gold
us,
was
so
he
we
going to
need
get?
Start going here.
3
so we got plus
points.
3 points there, so now we're tied with him. And I believe we get some gold here as well.
300
200
gold.
gold.
That's a
300
decent
gold?
chunk.
300.
300.
It's a little small.
That's a
and far away
decent
from the
chunk.
screen here.
Should be a multiple of 3 though, because it was.
So it just has to be in a
That
home
makes sense.
continent
300
city.
gold because 3 points.
Watch as his
Minor
units
will
now
one
move
from
away.
chat,
Yeah,
by
they're
the
just
way,
going to
asks,
sail
can you
away.
capture other civs treasure fleets if you're not at war with them.
No.
There is not. That would be a cool like special ability for some civ that was very good at piracy, but we don't have anything like that in the game right now.
They don't have a piracy civ.
corruption.
No.
Like I said, that volcano just makes keeping that mine operational just nigh on to impossible.
How are you looking
Right,
at
come on,
battle
Carl. Only
here,
move a little
I'm gonna
bit. Only move a little bit.
try.
You've got plus
We're
1
still
range.
kind
You
of
can still
far
attack
away.
here.
Yeah, we don't have quite enough movement.
I thought these were ranged. These are ranged abilities.
Another
Come on.
question from chat.
Stand 'em fast, stand 'em fast.
Yeah, but we don't have the ability to have movement when we unpack, so it would just delay us.
Different commander abilities.
Let's do this. We're gonna come in here and we're gonna purchase.
He's getting
Another
annoyed.
one.
The gold is being used
You have
now.
enough?
Buy a new boat.
Economic attribute point or gold in all settlements. That seems very good. We're gonna do that.
Dan's
2
Gaming,
gold in
by
all
the way, asks,
settlements
can you
was
capture
It's only
coastal
18
cities
gold per
with
turn.
fleets?
That's not too
Sure
good.
The other one was a settlement limit increase though too.
Bring up
Economic
fortune.
Oh, okay.
Which is good.
That's good.
But
Yeah.
we'll just go ahead and get the
Could be things
the
like a
automatic
settlement
gold.
point.
Sorry,
And-
what was the question?
Can you capture coastal cities with fleets? Is the question.
You can.
Yep.
Yes.
Oh yeah, conquering is absolutely
Depending.
essential.
There are caveats to that.
I mean, yeah. So if you remember the Civ 7 capture rules, towns you're capturing the center hex, but a city can start building walls in more
Yeah.
than just the center hex.
You've got to take a lot of the
And
city.
Every walled district has to be captured for the city to flip.
Yep.
So, for instance, if we took one of our cities, like the one we've been looking at, like Madrid, and we built walls into the interior of that, we would increase the number of tiles that need to be captured in order to take it. And those inland tiles, the fleets wouldn't be able to get to.
But those navigable rivers,
Yes.
maybe.
If you've got a
they could end
city,
up there.
you can make
So
it safe from naval
there's
invasion by
lots of
building a
interesting
wall
interplays there
district
for sure.
inland, because then
So
the
if
boats
we're not
can't
gonna
get to you.
get
They have to
our,
bring land units in.
Our splash damage here. Actually, this is
Xerxes.
For the sake of showing off.
Mongolia's
splash
got
damage,
a boat.
Let's
Declare war on Xerxes.
declare war on Xerxes.
He was pretty angry with you too, so you could get the formal war there.
I did, yeah. So now we are going to do this and attack this unit. No.
You try right-clicking.
Right-clicking removes it.
There's a bug with declaring war.
Well, but you're doing it for the commander. You're just
There's a
firing
bug
the-
that it's
Okay.
about declaring war. You can't attack units.
You know what? I wonder if declaring war breaks it.
Yeah.
I just ruined it for us.
So try
All right, I'll move forward again.
left-clicking
that's-
the unit.
Yeah, they just figured it out. It's declaring war. Something
all
about
frozen.
declaring war is breaking the game at the moment.
Build in progress.
All right, build is in progress, and for what we can't get to in this live stream, we will certainly get to in the future. We also have these very, very cool, if you're not already following the Civ socials, some very cool gameplay insights.
There you go. Here we go. Here we go.
So definitely check out those. They're very interesting,
go.
and we'll be able to.
We did naval
Oh,
damage.
so look at that! It did happen.
All right.
Got a little bit of a battle waging now.
Live bug finding.
You
I
can
love
see
that.
that Xerxes Mongolian naval units is at a cog, but it
Yeah.
looks very different than our cog did. It's got an entirely different type of sails and structure.
Yeah, it's really cool. The units look incredibly different. I do like that. The unit variety in this game is amazing.
All right, I think Sarah's
I
gonna
think
pull
that
the plug
about-
on Carl's
Yep,
naval
that's
battle.
fine.
About wraps us up, though I'm very glad that we were able to show our Civ fans
love
here
it.
a little taste
Bless
of
them.
naval battle.
There's always
and we'll be
something,
going into more
eh?
battle too. We have a lot more dev diaries planned, which is very exciting.
We said dad
Again,
diaries
we
for a
have
second.
the dev diary that just came out on empire management and cities and towns, so please check it out. It's a great read. We also have new game guides coming out for Isabella and for Spain, so check the Civ website for those.
Okay.
If you haven't already, follow the Civ socials. They're awesome. We hope you
Or
guys
follow
did get
mine.
the Twitch drop today too. The Exploration Age banner is awesome. And if you didn't watch us live, there will be more opportunities to redeem that in the future, so definitely keep an eye out for all of our streams. And just another reminder, Civ 7 is coming out soon, February 11th, 2025.
No.
It's coming with crossplay, cross-save, coming day and date to PC.
I'm wondering if cross-save is going to be a really cool way that I can set you all challenges and you can use my save. I think that's going to be awesome.
For our upcoming live streams, we're going to be covering the modern age as well coming up. So more news on that soon. But thank you, Ed. Thank you, Carl, for being here today.
Absolutely.
All right.
Thanks,
Thank
Ed.
you guys.
Thanks, Carl. Thanks, Sarah. It's a cat. Look, it's the cat that inspired Spain. All right, there's the stream. All right, we're going to talk about a lot of what we've seen. Let me just pull this up. Look at that. So much information. So much information on the exploration age. I love it. Tons and tons of new things. We found a couple of things. Firstly, there are still huge bugs in the game, so they're clearly still working on stuff. I love that. I love the fact that it didn't work with This is why when any game is released, we're going to break it within days. Like, as an audience, hundreds of thousands of players, we're going to wreck this game. It's going to be hilarious. We also found out a lot about the fact that just how important Navy is going to be. An expanding map, a new concept with distant lands, treasure fleets, how the naval commanders work, a little bit about Spain and Isabella, tons of stuff that we can chat about. Religion also featured heavily. We saw a little bit about the era, the age rollover. So, we're going to just chat about whatever you want about this. What I'm going to quickly do is I'm just going to have a very quick peek to see if the abilities for Spain have been added to the website yet, because I don't know how quick they're going to be. Spain's on the website. Look at them go. They've already put it live. Right, let's have a quick look at this. So this is the Civ, obviously, that we were just seeing. Among the early European colonial powers, Spain was by far the largest and most influential empire. As an Englishman, I find that statement very offensive, but sure, it's probably true. Iberia had been divided between Muslim emirates and Christian kingdoms, but following the unification of Castile and Aragon, the completion of the Reconquista, Spain dominated the global stage in the name of God and wealth. God and wealth, I like that. Not God and faith, it's like God and gold. The God of gold. The empire faltered as its ambitions were challenged in Europe and its far-flung colonies sought their own desires. Spain is a really interesting example of an empire that just disintegrated in all directions as it got wrapped up into multiple European fights with major superpowers, France, Prussia, England, a lot of papal powers, and then of course all of its colonies eventually were lost through various different mechanisms. A lot of South America and Central America, the Philippines, huge amounts of territory that Spain owned. So it's really, really interesting. Very, very interesting. Early European powers. I know. It's honestly very nice to see them playing a version of Still Bugs. It makes it clear that everything we're seeing is organic. They have lots of time to earn others. They do. I can't tell you how genuinely passionate the devs were when I met them. They love this game and they play way too much of it in the office. Like, they have large portions of the week that is just allocated to multiplayer, purely just so they can try and break the game enough to get things working. It is amazing watching them do it. As a Filipino American, I have mixed feelings. Yeah, as an Englishman, I have mixed feelings about Empire as well. Don't worry, it comes from both sides. Don't forget the Low Countries. No, we could never forget the Low Countries, all right? All right? Belgium was a very important power. Let's have a look and see. So increased gold efficiency towards converting a town to a city increased further in distant lands. We saw this was 15 and 30%. I'll be honest with you, the gold cost for a city was quite high. I'm still debating as to how much cities are really important, but this will be a really interesting mechanic when it comes to settling up that new city. We get multiple civics that unlock the Casa buildings, increased combat strength when in distant lands for Conquista. Casa con Tradicion. My Spanish is terrible. I just can't. Treasure fleets have increased movement. That's really handy for getting your stuff back and stopping it from being pillaged If your treasure fleets have more movement than the enemy units, they can never get captured. So, it's all interesting. Armada. Fleet commanders receive the flotilla promotion. That's the one they were getting confused about on the stream, which adds additional unit slots and allows land units to join the commander group. So your commanders can have 6 rather than 4, which was kind of what it meant. Unlocks increased production towards trading naval units, and naval units cost less maintenance. That stacks with Isabella really nicely. So your naval units are going to cost basically no gold. With Spain, your mission seemingly is just to blot the sun. Let's put some music on. Sorry, I realized we haven't got any music on. It's loud. That's loud. There we go. Bring that back down to a respectable level before everyone gets totally deafened. Apologize for that. Different settings for different things. All units receive increased movement when embarked. Again, kind of lays into the whole bringing your army from one side of the map to the other. Then we have the unique buildings. You want to make the plaza. Because... Oh no, the Conquistador is built in cities with a wharf. And they're all different. Which is the one... No, they on the stream said that you needed the plaza to do something. They didn't mean that. They meant the wharf, I believe. So that's fine. So the casa gives culture or gold, depending on which consistorial and the contradiction. These pronunciations are going to be the death of me. Culture and culture adjacency, gold and gold adjacency. Fine. It's going to be all a combination. Conquistadors are specific, unique units. Very good fun. Fleet commanders, all kinds of... I think we saw Ferdinand on the stream, and we saw someone else. I don't remember who we saw. Can't remember. Not sure. Tertio. Increased units received increased combat strength against cavalry, so basically anti-cav units. And El Escorial adds happiness. Cities within a set number of towns of this wonder receive extra happiness, increases settlement limit. That's really, really good. So Spain is really all about getting out there. Did Mr. Ursa say anything about video upload today? No video today. No video today because we've got this we've had a whole thing about the exploration age. I'm distracted. We've got a live stream tonight. The new videos return to normal tomorrow. So don't worry, the Roman series is going to be finished soon. Don't you worry. Although tomorrow is not the last episode. So no spoilers there. But that's fine. Once you learn Spanish pronunciation, you find it's way more consistent than English pronunciation. English is terrible as a language. I can barely speak it, and it's my language. When viewing the different gameplay mechanics, you can really see that Ed Beach is a board game designer. Yeah, it's brilliant. Ed Beach is quite good, and Carl really gets good gameplay mechanics as well. They are a good team. They are a very, very good team. I'll say again, I blame the French. You know what? That is something you should take away as just a valid rule. Blame the French. In all things, it's usually correct. Oh my god, the way Civ 7 seems to be worked through and complex. I'm going to try and figure out all the micromanagement of the game in 2 years, Alice. Yeah, it's what Pravis, you remind me of the exact French, seeing as your the exact phrase. It was depth, not complexity. So the game itself is very easy to play. The actual turns go very quickly. The mechanics are quite simple. But then the depth behind those mechanics is incredibly complex. I'm about to call you French, yeah. I got your accent totally wrong. Typical Englishman wanders over to America and says everyone's French. I think it's all about depth. It's simple moves that actually have way more combinations to make than you think. So you can pick the game up really quickly, but it takes you ages to master it. I think that is what they're going for, and I think they've got a really, really good system here. So there's a lot of fun stuff. Seeing us finding wild combos for months will be end. Yeah, there are so many layers of combos, right? When you think about it, you've gone for Antiquity Civ, that then goes to Exploration Civ. So you've got 2 sets of civics that you can then blend one into the other. The lead then has different effects on both of those civs, but also has abilities that level up through the game. You've got the legacies you take from one age and then you use to get effects in the second. The combinations here are mad. The crisis seem to give different options. Like, this is a really, really complicated assortment of rules and things that we're going to see a lot of different options for. So I'm excited about this. I think this will be really, really cool. This will be really, really cool. Depth, not complexity. Yeah, I think that is the mantra. I think that is the mantra. Let's see if we can find Isabella. Game guide. Leaders. Isabella. Here we go. She had a single vision, her expansion of her power. At home, she dedicated herself to establishing Spain's next chapter as a bastion of Catholicism via the Inquisition and the Reconquista. Abroad, she sponsored the expansion of the Spanish might into the New World. Clever and ruthless, Isabella built the groundwork for Spain's future upon war and wealth. Very nice. 7 cities of gold. Gain gold every time you discover a natural wonder. Increased if a natural wonder is in distant lands. How much of Civ 5 mechanics can you use? If I was Matthew Perry, I would say something like, can we be any more Civ 5? No is the answer to that. That is ridiculous. Love it still. So I think it was 300 gold and then doubled to 600. Receive additional tile yields from natural wonders, doubled. Very cool. Additional gold towards purchasing naval units and reduced gold maintenance costs for naval units. Now, I could try and find the exact clip. It's going to be nigh on impossible. At one point, he had his mouse over the late game yields that the AI had. I mean, it's going to be nigh on impossible. If anyone can find me a timestamp in this, by the way, I'd be very, very helpful. There's a bit near the end where he had his cursor over the yields, right? I seem to remember that I cannot remember her name. Bose's waifu. it just escapes. It's just too many consonants. She had 300 culture, and I think just owning one world wonder gained Isabella like plus 30 more than usual. So it was getting 60 instead of 30. So you can see it's a powerful ability. But it was only like 10% of the ability that Hatshepsut. Yeah, it is Hatshepsut. For whatever reason, it just doesn't stick in my head. I don't know why. I'm going to have to really learn that one. That is difficult. But yeah, she had like 10 times the culture per turn that ability had. So it's going to be a little bit like Civ 5. It's going to sound and be really cool until you actually realize there's not many wonders on the map. And I think Isabella's going to be one of those leaders where you get modded maps that have all the wonders in them, and it's just going to be terrific fun, or huge maps or something like that. She's going to be very, very random, and I think that's great. And then she has economic and expansionist, because she also additional gold towards purchasing naval units, so 50% extra. So you need to use less gold, and reduced gold maintenance costs for naval units. Now this stacked actually with, go to the civilizations here, because when we were on Spain earlier, this is where we see the stacking coming on really nicely. We had this: naval units cost less maintenance. Naval units cost less maintenance. Well, different ways of saying it, but that double stacking could mean we have basically 3 naval units. I didn't see how much we didn't see how much they actually cost per turn in maintenance, but that doubling could mean that Spain really can have an armada that is just unsinkable, as long as you have enough gold. Decrease relationship by a large amount per natural wonder in the player's borders. If no natural wonders are possessed by the player, increase relationship by a small amount. I love that. So she only likes you a bit if you haven't got one, and she dislikes you a lot if you do. Spain's coming after your stuff. I love it. Ship, printer, extra gold. A lot of fun. Just call her not Cleopatra. Hatshepsut. That's what I think. Like, it makes sense, right? When I say it a few times, it makes perfect sense. But then it's one of those words where the more you think about it, the less sense it makes. I can't remember a name of there is a condition, not condition, an effect where if you read a word too much, you lose the definition of the word. The word just begins to sound wrong. And it happens for me with loads of words. I remember back when I was at the mysterious and horrible university and I was reading chemistry. I was doing 1 week on iron, the element iron, and how it reacts and the sort of uses of it, and it was all very interesting. And over about a week, I must have written the word iron 1,000 times, and I must have said it a couple of hundreds. And about halfway through the week, my brain stopped being able to read the word. Every time I looked at it, it was wrong. It was like iron, iron. What is this? And it just went. It just absolutely went. And I don't know what it's called, but it took me like 3 days and it just clicked back. And I was like, oh no, I've had it with recently the word record. It just went, and I was like, this doesn't seem right at all. It's really Aaron, Elarian, yeah. Tile, I could see that, yeah, absolutely. You said chemistry, so I thought you meant ion instead of iron. Even ion would have made a more of an interesting thing. Record or record. You see? This is exactly what I mean. These are the sort of words that just like trip you up. Somehow you didn't graduate. I know. Crazy, right? Absolutely crazy. Please look up Baltimore accent. Aaron earned an iron. Remind me off stream. I'll have a look at that. That does sound really cool. That does sound really cool. And it's made even worse, right? By the fact that my accent is all over the place. And people are forever telling me off for how I pronounce things, okay? Like another thing. And it always makes me laugh because normally, right, there's a load of people that tell me that I'm saying things wrong because they're American. And bless you, I love you, America. You're a wonderful country. But you don't say anything correctly. And you are adamant you do. And none of the world speaks like you do. You're just unique and you're wonderful. But whenever I see a pronunciation correction, aluminium is the best one. Oh, it's aluminum. No, it's not. It absolutely is not aluminum. It is aluminium. Trust me. But then my accent personally is all over the place. I've lived in the north, the east. I've lived in London. It's such a hybrid. If ever you want a laugh, you should. I grew up in a county called Norfolk, and Norfolk has the most country bumpkiny English accent you'd ever heard. It's like Combine Harvester and Bushy Barnaby. Oh, you're saying this or that? And like when I go back home, I hear people talking like it, and it just like my accent just flips like that. I start talking like it again. I need to learn to harness it so I can start talking like that on stream sometime, just to like really confuse you. But then I lived in London, and then I lived in the wonderful city of, which obviously is very posh, and then I went up north, and I'm now married to a northerner, and that's all a thing as well. Like we're right next to the Scottish, but so I say things hundreds of different ways. It's a mess. Like, did anyone watch the British Bake Off? There's no spoilers, please. But there is a contestant on that has the craziest accent. They're like a Dutch, Scottish, Brummy accent. It is like the weirdest thing, and I love it. It is the best. I can't remember the name, but they're so good. They're so good. It's really, really good. To be fair, on the continent, we can understand each other just fine in English, but when talking to native Brits, everyone struggles understanding them. You should hear some of the English accents as well. Like, if you have a conversation with a Geordie, a Brummie, a Scouse person, a Glaswegian, all like stood in a room, you think I've got quite a neutral accent. I think I have a very villain-like accent. If I was cast in anything, if Ursa Ryan was a voice actor, I would be the villain in most things, you know, just in a stereotypical English way. How dare you, Mr. Bond? I'm going to kill you. That sort of thing. I speak proper RP. I don't know. Civv villain confirmed. Right, Neddy. Right, you're here, okay? Where do you stand on the whole villainry in a charity game thing? Because I have thought long and hard. I thought long and hard last year about rocking up with Basil. And I was so scared of turning up and doing it. Because I was like, imagine if you just turn up to an 8-hour game and you just... Tagma! Welcome to Tagma, everyone. Everyone's like, Ursa, you're supposed to play nicely with... Like, sure, little skirmishes, little Mapuche raiding skirmishes, sure. Little, like, I got trounced towards the end of the game, right? Famously so, TGM came over and bombed me in typical Bose rocking up with a Portuguese fleet? Who was Bose playing? I don't remember. Can't remember. As long as you're entertaining and it's a good sport. Also, you can find which players like to fight versus which players that don't. That's true. That is true. That some people are much more up for it. I'm thinking of a couple of people right now who are famously up for it all the time. Maybe what I need to do is just hope TGM's playing again and then attack him with a single horse. Just to see see if the strategy changes. Yeah, I need to practice my perfect villain accent. Or I need to practice my Norfolk. Why are we talking about this? This is such a tangent. This is such a tangent, yeah. I mean, yeah, basically, what I'm going to do, I'm going to make a good effort to go to, like, all of the major civs, all of the major leaders, and just make sure I've got pronunciation down as much as I can. But the thing is, as well, people don't agree. And that's fine. Like, someone corrected me on a video recently on one of the words I said. And then when I kindly challenged it, they were like, oh yeah, I live in the Baltic countries, so maybe I say it wrong. And I'm like, I can guarantee your accent in the Baltics is not going to match anyone else. And that's fine. That's totally fine. But it's great. Sorry, I am full of tangents. This is why I don't live stream more often. I would wildly talk about anything. Like summer, like Confucius. Tecumseh? Tecumseh? That's a difficult one. This doesn't help that I can barely speak English. Trung like that I should know that one. Like just Augustus is easy. Xerxes. Xerxes you just have to watch 300. And that makes perfect sense. Hit Xerxes in Civ 7 compared to Xerxes in 300. I mean, that's what they should have gone for. That's what they should have said. So, but you're writing this down, Miranda and Ben, and I really appreciate it, but how do you pronounce S-U-H? Su? Su? Like, people write down things written nicely phonetically, and it really helps to an extent until they realize that people say those phrases differently. Like, if I was to ask a Cumbrian, like a proper northerner from around here, they would read the same thing and then come up with something totally different, and you'd be like, I can see that. It's amazing. Rhymes with duh. Okay, so Tecumseh. I feel like that's weird. Xerxes with a Z. Xerxes. Really with a K? See, the thing is as well, is if I start doing this on stream, I feel like half of you wind me up as well. Like, I can get like 3 minutes of decent conversation from you wonderful chat, and then suddenly all of the pronunciation begins to become all over the place, and I feel like you are, you're going to start making things up. And, yeah, when you Google it as well, Google Translator comes up with really different ones. Hang on, if I can, let me see if I can find the best one, right? This is the one that I always go for. Oh, just whacking the microphone and bring it a bit right in front of my face. It's even got it saved because I always have to like think about this one. Right. Okay. Tell me if you can't hear this when I do this one. This is a channel favorite, right? Okay. So firstly, we have this one.
Khmer. Khmer.
Can you hear that?
Khmer. Khmer.
Khmer.
Khmer.
Okay. Or you have this.
Khmer.
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 Is it
Khmer.
Khmer or is it
Khmer.
Khmer? That's totally different. It's totally different. And then it doesn't matter which way I say it. It's always wrong. So like in videos, I will often, just for my own amusement, when I play Khmer, who I would say it, because this, like, just to show it to you, it literally says British pronunciation.
Khmer.
Khmer rhymes with bear, right? And then you've got
Khmer.
Khmer, which is rhymes with come here. But people go, oh, it's Khmer. And it's like, no, it's not. It's
Khmer.
Khmer. And then it gets even more complicated because if you're actually from the area, you say it totally different, right? So it's it always amuses me. So frequently in videos, what I would do is I would deliberately say both versions just to see how many comments I get. And it always amuses me no end when people correct me in both directions and they don't read the comments. Because this is the funny thing about people who leave comments about pronunciation. And next time you see someone in my video doing it, I want you to look out for this as well, because this always amuses me. Some people, when they comment on a video, check other people's comments before making their own comment, because you like other people's videos, comments, right? If someone's already said what you're going to say, you join in with their comment. People who correct pronunciation never check other people's comments. So you'll get like 5 or 6 people all correcting you on separate comments, and none of them will realize that everyone has like gone in different directions. And it is the most amusing thing. I love it. Every time it just, And then of course I sit here going, come here, and I lose track of what's going on. And you're absolutely right. It becomes like the new iron. Nano's got it spot on. And then I lose track of it. And after that point, I don't even know. Can we check for Cambodian? You see, this is what I mean. I just lose after that. The Cambodian pronunciation. I don't even know if this will be a thing. Oh, I'm gonna have to go into like a video. I'll work it out. We'll check. But it causes me no end of fun. This is one of my favorite things. I absolutely love it. I shouldn't love it so much, but I do. Anyway, we want to talk about Civ 7 some more. Is there any questions from the audience? Anything you saw you want to talk about? Anything you saw that you want to clarify? Because there's a lot of really cool mechanics here. This is all incredibly new. That phenomenon has a name. Yeah. I don't know what it is. How do you feel on the time skip? When you say time skip, Robsy, do you mean just that the date went forward? Because right now, so where was the point where they went into the new age, right? We'll see if we can find that. So they were on turn 133, which was about 960 BC. And then they skipped forward to about 400 AD. Is that what you're talking about? Yeah. Okay, that's what you're talking about. To be absolutely truthful with you, sorry, I didn't have it on the screen. Sorry, you can't even see what I'm talking about. Yeah, 400 AD at the top, compared to earlier in the game. It in the previous age, it was like 900 BC. Being truthful with you, I could not care less. There are things that I worry about when it comes to Civ 7. I worry about mechanics. I worry about how fun it's going to be to play, how repetitive it's going to be, how much variation we're going to see in the game. The number at the top, I'm used to sending people to the moon in like 1200 AD. Like, Civ has never been accurate on dates, so like I'm fine with that. It probably works out, but if you go to the 200 turn max, you will get to the date in question. So yeah, there's going to be a bit of a time skip, but really, I don't mind. That's quite cosmetic. I'm sure people will mod that if they need to, but I would assume if you're playing on a lower difficulty and you're not so good at the game and you use more of the time, you'll probably see less of a time skip than if you are jumping 100 turns ahead. Then you'll see a lot of time skip. But to be honest, you probably would have been winning in the game in like 900 AD anyway. We've played Byzantium games where we've had tanks before 0 AD, right? So that's just Civ. Civ is always like that. It's fine. Looking forward to seeing the concentrated fire action. Yeah, I've got mixed feelings about this. So we'll see if we can find a point where they were trying to do that. So I think it was kind of like in this area, just after they got the fleet to sort of unstack itself. Where was it? See if we can find a bit. Okay, you can kind of see in this area. So right there, you have the naval commander, and there was a button you could press that caused everyone to fire at a target within range. Doing that meant that you had less clicks because everything just fires at the target, so it just salvos, and all of your attacks have +1 combat strength, so it is more powerful. The downside I can see is that you can't split your attacks properly. You can't just make sure you do enough damage to one and then move on. So it's a bit like using a bit of a broad club to do what you could do with a very precise knife. Do you know what I mean? It's a very heavy-handed approach. And I wonder if +1 combat strength is enough to make that work. But certainly, if you've got like one unit, or you make a couple of attacks first and then you use it, I'm sure there are ways around it. So I actually think it's going to be a mechanic that is really quite handy. And I think we will enjoy it eventually. But I can see it being a little bit wobbly at first. So we shall see. Would galleys be able to raid Riverline? Depends on what you mean by that. So yes, galleys can absolutely move up navigable rivers. So on this point of the map, do you see like this river up towards Sparta? That is navigable river. So galleys can move all the way up it, and they can attack the city, I believe. So yes, they can like go up and raid. Now I don't know whether or not that raiding is like a Viking longship in Civ 6 or like a Norwegian raid where you physically pillage the tile next to it. I don't actually know, but I would assume that mechanic, if it's not in the game now, it probably will be in the game at some point, because pillaging is a mechanic in Civ. That is. Oh, it's the Brazil tune! This is the tune we use in all our shorts. Oh, I'm so happy. I love this one. I always love this one. I wonder how TSL might work. I don't think we're going to get TSL at the beginning. However, I do think we will get TSL by the end of the game. And I think there's going to be two ways we get TSL, right? I think firstly, mods are going to step in first, and they're going to make Earth maps for us to use. And there will probably be mods that limit civs to a geographical region of the map. It could be that TSL is more important at the start, so Antiquity, or you start later in the game and you just play a TSL map later. I think there are ways around it. Later into the game, I think there will be TSL versions where they will put into the game where just some of the civs are limited choice. So you can only start on like European lands and then you expand outwards. There are ways you can do it. TSL as we know it now has kind of died because of the way that now civs change and it's all just a little bit different. So we're not going to see it exactly the same way. But I don't think it's dead and gone. I think it's going to have a different iteration. And I think Earth maps are absolutely going to be in the game. I wouldn't be surprised if there is an official Earth map that gets put in quite soon. So yes and no. But it's going to be very different. And I think it's going to be for the community to push to find a new default of what a TSL map is. Because it's certainly not going to work in the same way that it did before. So we shall see. Did you get what they meant when someone asked about whether luxuries on your continent count as exotic resources for distant land civs, and they said no? Yes, this was quite an interesting mechanical question, actually. So I just try and get a good shot of the map to show you. It's very difficult. Okay, this probably is a good shot when it loads. Right, so this was a part of the map where Toledo counts as being as part of your homeland, and then so does Athena. This is one of the original cities, but this island to the top, was a distant land. So this was a different continent, and you can see that because the cocoa and the sugar, these 4 resources, they were all considered to be distant land resources or treasure resources. So if you're playing as a player, you start in Antiquity, the continent you start on is automatically your homeland, and then by default, the stuff that you're not on is the distant lands. When the game went a little bit later, and unfortunately it's going to be a little bit difficult to see because they stuck their camera over the minimap, but here you go, the minimap, you can just see it in the bottom here a little bit. When the distant lands were expanded, so you can see on the right hand side of the map, this was the Antiquity Age map where everyone started. And when exploration rolled forward, all of this was generated, right? This was all generated land. But when it did that, Confucius and the other leader, to whom I cannot remember the name of, but the one that starts and goes into Songhai, those 2 leaders spawned on the distant lands. Now, the thing is, the mechanic works by taking homeland civs. Amina, sorry, thank you very much. The mechanic works from taking a homeland civ, finding a luxury on a distant land and bringing it back. So what they were asking was, if a distant land civ is there, do they get it by taking distant land resources, or do they get it by taking in the other direction? So like for them, a homeland resource is a distant resource because they've started on the other continent. And it was a really good question because you could see them go like, we haven't got an answer to that. So I assume what happens right now is that they just don't engage with that mechanic at all. Or there's like a workaround mechanic for them because they have very fixed concepts of distant land and homeland, right? It is very, very distinct. What I think they're trying to do is probably make it into more of a sort of category A and category B thing. So as long as the categories are different, it works. But because at the moment they've got something that's specifically a distant land resource, the mechanic isn't working at the moment. So I think that question stumbled across what was a genuinely interesting mechanical question about the game that is something they've been thinking about. So yeah, I think that was it. That was quite a good pick question, that one. That was good. It does feel like distant land civs have a disadvantage, absolutely. But I also got the impression that if you're playing as a human or you're playing multiplayer, I believe that they will not give you the option to start on that other land. I think all of the spawns on advanced starts are going to be locked to that first island. So I think this is only a question that the AI has to deal with. I think that there was a comment that someone said about whether founders, which is your first settler in the Antiquity Age, is called a founder because that makes a city, whereas all of your other settlers make towns, right? They were asking, can you move your founder if you start later in the exploration era? And they specifically said no, because on later era starts in the exploration era, your city is just in place. Like you have a fixed city and the game starts. And I believe that is probably because, this is my hot take, you cannot have an exploration age start where some of the players start on the distant lands, because that's inherently unfair. So I think they have to force everybody onto the Antiquity Age start when starting in the later game, and they force the cities down in order to make sure that the spawning is better. So I think they've had to write around it, right? Because, I mean, in Civ 6, what's everyone's favourite game to play as Coupe, right? Everyone's favourite Civ 6 game is Coupe. A Terra map, where you move over and you start on the other continent from like turn 10, right? And you have the entire landmass to yourself until people get cartography. It's really fun, but it's incredibly broken. It is inherently really, really broken. So what I suspect is that they are trying to stop that from happening with later age exploration starts, and that's why they're locking cities down a bit. So I think this mechanic will not apply to players. I think this is only an AI thing, and that's why they thought it was a really interesting question. Because if they can solve that, that opens up how players spawn. Do you see? Sometimes you have to think about the mechanics and like, why did they get to that point? But it's an interesting question. I don't think it's really going to make too much of a difference to the game on launch. This is going to be quite a niche question, but I think it's one they're going to have to work out because it'll unlock a lot of different map types. And if you can unlock different map types, then it unlocks a lot of longevity for the game later on. So, should be interesting. More questions. What happens if you don't settle during Antiquity and then move your founder to distant lands at the beginning of exploration? So, I think that's not going to work because A, trying to survive the entirety of Antiquity without your settler being captured is going to be incredibly tricky. It also doesn't work because we saw when the game went from the this Antiquity age. So if I bring up a picture here, do you see the map is covered in like archers and hoplites? So these were the Antiquity age units. When the game rolled forward to exploration, all of those units were removed from the map. All military units were removed from the map. And you see, in every settlement, replacement units were put. So I think the game physically brings the units back to the towns and cities and then replaces them with the modern equivalents. And I believe if you don't have a city, that's not going to work. Now, this is totally unfounded, and I don't know if this is the correct answer, but I imagine if you don't settle a city in Antiquity, you will not roll forward to exploration. That's my hunch. But we need to test this. This is absolutely something we need to test. So this is the sort of testing. I feel like I need to write this down. This is a really, really good question because I'm going to physically ask Carl this, right? That's a really good question. What if I don't settle in Antiquity? These are the sort of silly questions that none of the quality assurance people or the devs are ever going to think of. This is the chaos that only comes from our minds. This is wonderful. Yeah, they did say all units move back to the closest city or fortification on the rollover. So I think if you haven't got a city, I think that's going to fundamentally ruin the transition. So it should be interesting. The no city challenge could be dead. It could be. Unless we warn them and then they put it into the game. You know? Wouldn't you need cartography to go across the ocean with the founder? Yes, you would. Try getting the science for that. Although, yes, no, the settler wouldn't be able to move. It would only be able to go into coast. So in this particular map, you would be stuck to like an island that existed a little bit like up there. Do you see there was an island that was like only just separated by coast? It didn't count as being part of the distant lands. That's the only way I could think you could do it. Otherwise, you wouldn't just have enough science. Like, this civ had 40 science, and it was taking 14 turns to get cartography. So that's like almost 600 science needed for that tech. If you haven't got a city, not happening. Not happening. Would I need to trigger narrative events for science to unlock cartography? That would be funny. I don't know. Maybe these are the sort of questions. These are the sort of questions. I love it. Are there high tides and low tides mechanics? No, I didn't see anything about tides. The only thing about sea levels or anything like that we've seen so far were mechanics about deep ocean tiles. If you do not have the requisite techs and you end your turn in a deep ocean, you take damage because of rough seas. Until you get to like metal casting, I think it was later. Could be that. I can't remember. The Netherlands are sad, yeah, absolutely. So, are the treasure resources for Amina and Confucius different than they are for the other four? Does that impact treasure capture? I honestly think my hunch at the moment is that mechanic does not work for them yet. And I think they haven't found a workaround for that yet. So I think we stumbled across a really interesting question. And that's why I think that Armina and Confucius's spawns are not going to be possible for a human. I would love to. I'm gonna ask that. But like, yeah, it's a really good question. It is like luxuries for distant land civs. I think that's a really, really good question. Tidal pool would be a cool terrain type. It would. I know we've got reefs, so reefs exist still. But, yeah, that'd be cool. Now I'm wondering, since the modern age civ limit is higher, I wonder if distant land colonies could spawn one civ while home country civs spawn their own civs, essentially splitting empires. Maybe. We don't know what the mechanics of that is going to be like at the moment. But multiplayer on modern does have a higher limit. I think it's 5, 5, and 8. I believe it's because map generations add civs together. So we're going to see, maybe we won't see the, do we actually know if the map will expand after exploration? I don't know if we know that yet. But I think it's because it's just easier. Like, maybe there won't be more civs in modern, but it's just easier to put loads of them in at the end of the game because you don't have to worry about those mechanics afterwards. I think that could be what the thing is. We shall see. So the rest of the map doesn't exist until it's generated upon age roll of it. Nope. Nope, it is literally all generated when the map rolls over. It doesn't exist. So you can't preload your spawn. So you've got to actually play and then find out what the map is. I love that. It stops people from re-rolling maps, and that is the Ursa Ryan mantra. We do not re-roll on the Ursa Ryan channel. We play every map. It's so much fun. The end of exploratory could match to the revolutionary era. Yep, could be. We don't know anything about modern yet, but it's pretty cool. I bet the treasure ships don't exist in the modern age, so the mechanic disparity is gone. Yeah, they pretty much alluded to the fact that treasure ships was a exploration age mechanic, and that we wouldn't see it in future ages. We don't know what the modern age mechanics are at the moment, but I'm pretty sure that that is not going to exist. Does that mean you can't design the whole map in advance and choose which parts are concealed? So you can a bit. They mentioned there were different versions of the map that change how the map spawns. So certain settings change the type of map in Antiquity, and certain settings change what the map that you reveal looks like. So I think there's going to be options for both, yes, but I think you're not going to be able to look at the exploration age part until you physically get to it. So you're not going to be able to pre-look at it in that way, no. Mods are probably going to change that though. Mods probably can force the spawn. So I imagine people will find a way around that, but as it stands now, you can design a full map, but you just won't know what it looks like. Will there be a map maker? No idea. Absolutely no idea, but I assume there probably will be a map maker, yes. Because, I mean, if you think about it, Civ 6, most maps are randomly generated, but you still can load in fixed maps. So I absolutely imagine map maker will be a thing. It just, you'll have to designate which sections of the map are Antiquity and which are exploration. So I imagine you will be able to map make, but they haven't said anything about that just yet. So we shall see. Succession games for Civ 7 could be a fun concept. This events like a Civ Give. Yeah, could you imagine? Could you imagine, White and Nerdy, if you and I are playing as a team, and then after exploration, our empire breaks in two, and then we have to take one part each? That would be mad. And I'm all there for it. I think that would be awesome. It would be chaos. Imagine what would happen if we played the glorious Norman Empire, and we go and settle America, and then it breaks away and declares independence, and I'm left back on my old continent fuming. We'll be back. Absolutely. Absolutely. Adams, we don't know about the map maker just yet. That is the question. I assume you will be able to do that, but we don't know that yet. I'd repel from you any day. You could try, but you'll be back. Time will tell. It would be cool to rework the loyalty impossible revolution concepts. Well, loyalty is still in the game, so that actually was mentioned. Loyalty is in the game. It's just not switched on all the time. So they mentioned in the crisis system, one of the 3 crises effectively turns the loyalty system on, so that if you've got settlements that are really far away from you, they're going to rebel. So that's quite cool. So it does exist. It's still in the game. It's just not switched on. So I think this mechanic does exist. Could it be used in modern age? Probably. Probably. It'd be really interesting to see. I'd repel from you any day. It does. It is romantic. I'd rebel for you. But no, from you. Sorry, let's make this clear. Away from you. Perhaps the crisis system could be used to split civs as well. That would be pretty cool. Yeah? Yeah, maybe. We haven't seen that yet, but this is all hypothetical areas they could explore into. We won't rebel against you, Ursa. Gonna be too busy rebelling against the orange dictator. Aww. Hey, look, it's all good. Everyone's happy. That's something saying, Ursa, and your face and voice doesn't match in my brain. What? But I look just like my comics. What do you mean it doesn't match? I've been drawing myself every day for like ages. What do you mean I don't look like what you think? Plus I've been on livestream loads. I don't hide my face. Look, hang on. Let me see if I can find something. Hang on. This always makes me laugh. Yeah, here we go. Look. It's me. It's me. I've been in this the whole time. I was wearing a yellow shirt the first day. I think I mentioned this on a previous stream. The first day I did one of those pictures, I didn't know who the antagonist should be, but I was wearing jeans and a yellow t-shirt. I just drew myself. And it stuck. Hang on. I got the first... Oh yeah, hang on. The first one. Here we go, the first one. Literally what I was wearing on the day. Have I changed the colour of my jeans? I think I have, you know, accidentally. Whoops. Achilles, you're so late. It's good to have you here. I imagine the easiest thing to do would be to go and watch the stream back from the beginning, or at least back from an hour in, because then the whole highlight thing goes. Or you can watch it from 2 hours in. No. Yes, because then you'll be able to see all of the stuff. How long have we been streaming for? That's a very valid question. How long have we been streaming for? Almost 4 hours. Wow. That's impressive. That is impressive. Live, look at you playing a recent Rome game. Nope. Rome it's... Words. Rome continues tomorrow. Today we were distracted by the Exploration Age live stream, which was very cool. The mechanics here are very, very cool. You've improved, you know. Thank you, Nicola. I am quietly pleased about my own artistic ability. I still think I cannot draw, and I still think I can call whatever I draw bad drawing because it is still stick figures, but I'm glad that people enjoy it. It's a lot of fun. Okay, I'm doing 2 hours in. Wonder what past us looks like. I think I wore a jumper at the beginning of the stream, so, you know. Oh dear. I'm going to have to go now. We've been streaming for about 4 hours. I really enjoyed it. I hope you all enjoyed the information that we found. So much of the Exploration Age was very cool. I am more reassured about the game now I can see the way it's transitioning. I think this game has been really carefully thought through. There are some very exciting things. There's some big questions, big fundamental questions, and it would be really cool. If you've got any questions you want to ask, just stick them on Discord in the Civ 7 tab, or stick them on the comments of the VOD of this live stream as it goes out. And we'll see what we can answer. I'm going to go away and ask Carl that question, because I think that's a really, really good question. And I think it's an interesting thing. We'll see. We'll see if we found a little exploit in the Matrix. But, ladies and gentlemen, it's been a wonderful evening. We've seen a lot of Civ 7. I hope you're all excited about it. We have less than 100 turns. To end turn, shift end turn, stay in bed. Those days will fly by. I've been Ursa. I'm going to go get some water and have some dinner because it's 9 o'clock and I haven't eaten and I'm hungry. I shall see you later. Goodbye.